franktalks.com.
So you're actually giving seminars as well,
Yeah, I'm giving some of my best seminars are my calibrated storytelling seminar, my adult male virgin seminar. This is for guys who are
adult male.
Adult male virgins.
Okay.
And I've counseled guys in there everything from age 18 to age 45.
You're not kidding. 45.
No, I'm not. 45-year-old virgins.
And they actually admit that they are virgins. And
well, the way I structure my seminar, most of the seminars happen over the phone. So it's one-on-one. They don't even have to give their identity.
Okay.
But these guys are in some really bad situations. And I just pretty much give them an opportunity to talk about this because, I mean, it's something that a lot of them are just feeling such fear about.
Okay.
You know, when you're dealing with a 27 or a 35 or even a 45-year-old virgin, there's all kinds of issues that need to be discussed, and being comfortable with sex and that sort of thing is one of them.
Wow, I could never have thought there are actually people out there, over 30 that, are still virgins.
I didn't think so either until I started giving like a lot of one-on-one seminars, and through the people that I was meeting, a common issue came up that they were virgins. And I just said, you know what, there's just so many of them that I've just decided, okay, I'm going to start holding seminars for adult male virgins. And when you're dealing with a guy who's maybe 27 years old and still a virgin and he has nobody else he can talk to about this, my seminar, it turns out, has been a real godsend for some people.
Well,
so
that's really shocking, to be honest. If you think, or I would never thought that people over age of 30 just never had sex, but there are people out there. I still get emails all the time. They're not obviously not like saying they're still virgins and admit it, but it's actually good that people have some kind of a source they can talk, go to and actually talk in private, such as yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, I've just been doing this for so many years at this point that they start talking, and I have a very good idea already of, okay, you're a virgin because, maybe they're just afraid to piss off mom, or maybe they're afraid to grow up, or there's something going on in their inner game.
So inner game, you mean, like confidence
their beliefs.
And
For me, when I talk about inner game as it regards seduction,
okay.
I'm talking about their belief system as it regards to being with women.
Okay.
And there's something in that belief system that's getting in their way. Inner game can also incorporate, what they want to do with their lives, so on and so forth. And I actually give them some exercises to do so that they can figure out what their path in life is.
Well, how do these exercises look like? Do you send them
it's
out
all writing.
talk
It's
to
a writing
10 women?
No. When we're trying to figure out what their path in life is about,
right.
I get them to sit down, and I'll tell you what it is. I get them to write their own eulogy.
Okay.
Write your eulogy. In order to figure out what you were meant to do in life, first you must contemplate your death. So I get them to sit down and actually write out their eulogy. What do you want said about you when you die? And based on what they write is the indication of, well, what are you doing in your life right now that's going to make that eulogy true? If you wanted in your eulogy that he was loved by women, okay, what are you doing right now to make sure that happens? If you write in your eulogy right now, he changed the world, okay, what are you doing right now to change the world? I know it seems very simplistic, but contemplating your death, coming to terms with the fact that, you know what, you're going to die, well, how are people going to know that you existed at all?
Yeah.
It will definitely give people a direction as to what they want to do with their lives.
This is really funny because I usually tell my guys, listen, most of these guys have problems. The simplest problem is fear of approaching a woman, and usually you just tell them, listen, in about 20,000 days, you and me are going to be dead. Okay. Now, I believe that most of these guys do not see the bigger picture. They just think, oh shit, if I go over there, I'm not gonna make a fool out of myself, or what if she says no? And
Right.
they don't realize, if you don't do anything, like, nobody's ever gonna know the difference, especially not
Right.
you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I agree with that 100%. They're so caught up in the moment of, oh my God, it'll be so bad right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact is, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 weeks from now, you really aren't going to care too much. Yeah, rejection doesn't feel good. Yeah, it sucks when you're blown out of set and you blush and you're red
It
faced.
sucks.
And that's actually one of the questions that was asked from your readers in here. The question was, how do you feel when you're approaching women? And the fact is that even now at my level, there's always a part of me that's still a little nervous because rejection is never pleasant.
Yeah.
But you get over it. Not that you don't get over the pain. The pain is still there. You just realize that as bad as that pain is, it's a temporary pain. You get over it and you move on because it's not going to kill you. But not ever getting married, not having kids, not living out your fantasies, those are the things that are even more painful.
Definitely.
One of the things that I tell all of my clients, which really helps motivate them to take this seriously, is that the leading cause of suicide for adult men is divorce.
Are you sure it's divorce or not relationship problems in general? Or is it actually divorce? Because I'm really curious.
It's divorce. To my knowledge, when I say divorce, that also includes when, let's say, common law couples, people, you're living with your girlfriend, common law couple, and that relationship ends. But because of all the added legalities with divorce is the number one source of all suicides for adult men.
Wow, shocking numbers.
And and I've been told, yeah, but what about drugs? What about alcoholism? What about what about financial bankruptcy?
Don't think so.
Well, those things do factor in somewhat, but those are not necessarily catalysts for suicide. Those things are usually as a result of something bad happening. Meaning somebody gets divorced, they may become an alcoholic.
Right.
Or they're an alcoholic, but they're still alive. They'll get divorced, they lose the support that they had up until that point, and then they'll give into suicide. What is the main difference between a guy who commits suicide and a guy who doesn't when he's going through these horrible traumatic things? And the main difference is the guy who survives it usually survives because he has a good relationship with a woman that helps support his life. So when I talk about, listen, if you ever get divorced, and part of what you're learning in seduction is how to maintain a relationship, but if you ever get divorced, that's some of the worst pain a man can be in. Most men end up committing suicide from that. Wake up. That's the way I motivate people to study this stuff, because you can't argue with a statistic. People think that men don't feel in relationships. That's not true. We feel a great deal. That's why when the relationships end, we don't get to be like a girl who goes and cries to all of her girlfriends and say what a bad person he was. We have to deal with it on our own. We're men. And guess what? It's an added pressure that not every man is capable of dealing.
So a lot of people crack at that point. Well, a lot of men.
Yeah.
And, well...
I know some naturals, okay? Some naturals who...
So naturals,
you
mean like,
somebody who never
players.
came into the community. Yes, natural players. Guys who never even studied seduction, never even knew about the community. I know naturals who, when they end up in a situation where they're in the process of getting divorced and that, they're getting suicidal.
This is a very, very funny thing, because I completely agree with you. I know so many people. Most of my friends are, they are womanizers. They hustle around the clock, and they are the first people that call me up and say, hey, listen, I can't go out. I got women problems. Mm-hmm. And you would never thought that people like that actually had these kind of problems, but they still do.
Yep.
They're not immune to anything.
No, not at all. They still feel the pain. They just feel it at a different level. Now, the advantage that we have in the community is that as bad as things get, we know that there's a way out of it. But the natural, who is not familiar with the community, not familiar with the analysis of what works for him, when he reaches a traumatic point, he doesn't see any future for himself Because he'll only see that, oh, how I'm feeling right now represents how I'm going to be the rest of my life. I know this one natural. He was getting laid since he was 13 years old.
Holy cow.
All right? He was seduced by his best friend's mother. I'm serious, man. This guy
You're
has
not kidding.
I'm not kidding. I don't kid about stuff like this, dude. I'm 100% serious when I talk
Well, that's
about it.
pretty cool.
Um,
I don't even
he
think
was
that's
a
legal.
natural. No, it wasn't. It wasn't, and it's not. Now get this. This guy was a master player. He was never a community guy. He just got laid early. He fell in with some right people who taught him the ropes very young. And one day he was with a woman in a relationship, and he wanted to marry her. He wanted to have kids with her. The woman insisted, no, I never want to get married. I never want to have kids. It's not you. I just don't ever want that life for myself.
And his life was shattered. Well, his reality was shattered.
No. He was content to still have her around. Here is when his life shattered. When she left him, and within a year of breaking up with him, she was married and pregnant with somebody else's kid.
And he still knew about her. And he's probably found out about it. And
he found out about it, and his family was contacting all of his friends. Please call him up. Please check in on him. We're worried because he is really down. He's really depressed. We're scared he's going to do something stupid. And I mean, like, this guy was a natural who, I mean, the stories that this guy told, and I was able to verify that these stories were actually legit. He wasn't talking out of his ass. This is legit stuff. To live that kind of a lifestyle and still, because you have that kind of problem, you know what? It never stops. When Style says the best way to win the game is to get out of the game, he's dead wrong. You never stop gaming.
You never stop.
Never. You always have to lead the relationship.
If you ever stop, the woman is going to leave you at some point, and then you have to get back on your feet.
That's right. See, you don't have to necessarily use, well, depending on what your game includes, if your game is using routines, if your game is using tactics, or so on and so forth, you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to continue that. But the basis of why all these games and routines exist, which is to establish you as the leader and the dominant one in the relationship, to lead the relationship, that's not something you ever get a break from. Even when crisis hits your family, when my father passed away, and I really just was not in a good headspace at that time, because I watched him be cremated, and that was that still affects me. When I had my
what age are you, by the way?
I'm 33 right now.
Seriously, you never look like that. I must have figured you were like 25 or something when you sent me those pictures.
Oh no,
it must have something to do with your. I wouldn't say change, but you changed a lot for the better.
Yes. Yeah, where I was and where I am now, major life change.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I mean, I'm 33 years old. I never hide my age to anybody. You met me when I was, we met earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 33 when you met me.
You were the first person in that room that actually thought, wow, this guy's the shit. You know, you had your pimp cane and you had your hat, and I was like, a lot of people probably go, hey, check out this guy. Look who the hell he thinks he is, right? And I was just like, wow, you are so cool.
I appreciate you saying that, but just for the record here, I consider myself a dork.
You consider yourself a dork? You call yourself a dork, or you just say,
absolutely. I know, I call myself a dork. In my books, every time I do something really stupid, even at my level where I might make a mistake, I refer to myself as a dork. I'm still a dork. I'm just a dork who knows how to seduce. And the whole peacocking thing.
As in peacocking, like dressing up,
like pimping out.
Kind of exaggerating.
Yeah. This is only a tactic that I used in the past year. All of the lays that I got were prior to me peacocking. All of the lays you'll read about in my book, it's all prior to my peacocking. My peacocking was part of just a personal experiment on growth.
As an inner growth, or, yeah.
Absolutely, an inner growth.
Okay.
One of the things I did with my peacocking is that I started doing stand-up comedy. Not because I'm ever going to have a career as a stand-up comedian, but I had to force myself to get up on a stage, be in the spotlight where all the attention is on me. And I went there dressed out in my peacocking gear. Why? Because I needed the experience to be up on a stage, and if I made a few jokes and they laughed, great. And if I bombed, well, too bad for me. But man, there's nothing that toughens you up in getting used to a new look, like putting yourself out there and being on the receiving end of people's not so nice attitudes. Walking the streets in my peacocking outfit, I can tell you now that I've been yelled at.
On the street.
On the street. I've been yelled at from cars. So I had to modify my outfit to include things like skull rings, to include things like a cane, because when I didn't have the skull rings and the cane, and I just had the rest of the stuff,
So
I had people
the
make
pimp hat and the funky outfit and
the shoes,
crocodile leather shoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I received some very nasty remarks from people. That's just the nature of the world. I once had a stare down in a bar with a goon. Why? Because I was pimped out, and his mother, who was in the bar, came over to talk to me. And she made it a point to say, "Oh, by the way, my 4 sons are here." And the 4 sons happened to be 4 goons in the bar.
Whoa.
And one of the goons came up to me, and he just wanted to make sure that his mother was okay, that I was, treating her nicely. At that point, I went into damage control mode because I said, okay, old lady here who's talking to me, I'm not really into her, but if I blow her off, goons in the bar could come over and beat the tar out of me. I had my pepper spray in my pocket, ready to use it just in case. And I treated her nice, but I didn't do anything to attract her. I actually went into therapist mode. I said, okay, how would an AFC handle this? And that's exactly what I did.
That's very smart.
Yeah, you have to calibrate.
But you actually have to use, because you actually dress like so, it's not really over the top, but in fact it is.
Yeah, it is.
Once you enter a room and you are, you're dressed up, you're so pimped out, people immediately notice you. And
absolutely.
Do you ever get into trouble for that?
Yes. Oh God, yes.
I mean, no, I'm not talking about girls. I'm talking about guys. They come up and say, "Hey, what's the deal? Shouldn't you be in the gay bar, for example?"
Oh yeah. Oh, I've gotten. You have to understand that was the reason that I went ahead with the skull rings, because my skull rings are very sharp and they can cut flesh.
You told me that in Montreal. You showed me one of those rings, and they're actually really, really sharp. And if the shit hits the fan, got to get yourself in there.
My goal is to survive. My goal is to survive. When I walk in with a cane, when I walk in with my skull rings that cut flesh, and I have the pepper spray in the back of my pocket, if somebody attacks me, I'm not just looking to get away. I am looking to cause them enough damage that they will never try that again. And if there's a goon number 2 or goon number 3 behind them, they will think twice. Ever since I started... Go ahead.
That's a really pimped out attitude, though, as well.
You have to. You have to. Listen, I was taught... I don't know if you know any of my story. When I was in my 20s, I spent 5 years with no sex.
5 years?
5 years.
You spent 5 years without sex. Was that from 20 to 25, or...
I don't want to give a specific age because... Because I
it was in your 20s.
It was in my 20s.
Okay.
I spent 5 years because after I broke up with my ex-fiancée, I had a few girls after that, and then nothing for 5 years. And it was in the middle of the 5 years that I discovered the study of seduction.
Wow.
And I was a newbie for 2.5 years, just trying to relearn everything that I'm supposed to do. I was morbidly obese at the time. I was so big and so heavy, I could not stand up for more than 20 minutes. Otherwise, my feet would be in incredible pain. Like, even though I'm a big guy now, this is the slim version of me. So when I made a change, I'm talking about I made a life-altering change because I had to. There was only one choice: either I die and kill myself, or I become good at seducing women. That was it. That was the choice I had to make.
So, on a scale from 1 to 10, how high would you rate you back then, look-wise?
Oh my God! I only have
like
one
yourself.
truly at myself.
Yeah, yourself. What would you give yourself?
I would be a 1 or a 2. a 1 or a 2 because I do have gorgeous eyes. That's my one attractive feature, my one attractive characteristic. I have beautiful, gorgeous green eyes. But I can tell you now that in terms of my looks, no woman has ever wanted to be with me because of my looks. I even had women tell me to my face during my development when I was, let's say, starting to gain girls.
Yeah.
I've had women where I'm about to lean in for the kiss, and they lean back and say, no! And I did everything right up until that point. There was no reason for them to say no. And what they said to me was, I just don't find you attractive.
Straight out of blue.
Straight out of the blue.
You're not attractive, as in, basically, well, your physical attraction does not turn me on. You're ugly, is more or less.
I'm just not attracted to you. Like, everything was going well. We were leaning in for the kiss, and then something kicked in, and they backed down and said, no, I don't find you attractive. I'm just not attracted to a guy your size.
Well, that's harsh, man. That must have been harsh.
Yeah, sure it's harsh, but that's part of the process. Look, part of the development from loser to seducer is that you're going to go through pain. You're going to deal with rejection more than you think. Why? Because even now you're going to start approaching more. So obviously you're going to go through a period of time where you're getting a lot more rejection than you're used to. It's part of the process.
You've come a huge way. I mean, you could take it up
Dude.
with anybody out there. I mean, you have to be the guy out there, as in the role model for all these guys who just don't get it. I mean, you have guys out there that look like male models and are still virgins. I mean,
yeah.
It's not looks. It's definitely not looks. It's seriously
I'm
what
living
you make
proof
out
of
of
the fact.
yourself.
I'm living proof of the fact
Yeah,
it's not
you are.
looks, but you also have to consider the amount of time I spent working on this. What people don't know is that I almost got kicked out of school because when I started studying this, I was still doing a master's degree, and I spent like 6 months doing nothing but studying, and I wasn't even studying my stuff for school. So I had to go back to the school and pay them extra tuition to make up for the time that I had lost. Otherwise, I would have been kicked out of the program.
Whoa.
People don't seem to know that. And that's, well, like I said, I reached a point where it was like either I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to learn this. I hit rock bottom. People also don't know that I was on a very good career path. I had gotten a job which is normally reserved for junior lawyers, and I'm not a lawyer. I did have a master's degree where I looked at entertainment law. So I had a really great career opportunity, and working good at my job didn't seem important to me anymore because, listen, I had a wall full of awards and degrees and times I've appeared in the media, but I wasn't getting laid. So all that other stuff didn't matter. So and when I was learning this initially, I tried a lot of this stuff at work with the girls at work. And I got into some big trouble for that, too. People don't know that there were a couple of times where I may have gotten fired for trying to use an NLP technique to get somebody willing to talk to me about career advancement. So, like I said, people don't see that. They don't see that for the 5 years that I was without sex, how much pain I was in. They don't see how morbidly obese I was, because obviously you didn't know when you first met me. You had no idea of my path.
No idea.
I had a lot of issues with sex in general, just the guilt issues involved. This has been one hell of a journey for me. I'm not the man that I used to be, but make no mistake, it took me 2.5 years of studying this stuff just to get my first lay. And everything else from there has just been an incredible exponential learning curve. So for all the guys who are listening to this, I'm telling you, it is possible to change your life. But don't think it's going to be easy, because I can tell you that for me, it wasn't easy. I had to change a lot of my friends. The friends that I used to hang out with, a lot of them didn't want to hang out with me anymore because I got too good at this stuff. And they resented having me around. They were worried that I was going to steal their girlfriends. They were, even though I have my rules, I don't do that to my friends. I'm not going to hurt my friends the way I was hurt. But I got to tell you, it's not an easy road. I call this the canyon of pain. And you're either on one side of the canyon of pain or you're on the other. When you're a loser, you're starting your journey to cross the canyon of pain. Finally got my redemption when, after everything I learned and everything that I changed, I got back the one that got away, my ex-fiancée. And when that happened, I was on this side of the canyon. I had an understanding of relationships that helped me see the world differently. And I'm happy I've made the journey. But don't ever underestimate what a painful journey it was.
Do you think it was worth it?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, it was either go through this journey and change and actually be happy now, or kill myself back then. Let me give you an idea of what happens when you do really well, when you actually make the change, and when you get to this side of the canyon. I like who I am now. I like me. I don't think about killing myself anymore. As bad as sometimes life gets, I have the bills to pay. I got to get up in the morning when I don't want to. My car. I don't have the car anymore because it finally broke down. I mean, hey, sometimes life sucks. But every day, I am glad that I'm me. I wouldn't want to be anybody else, no matter how much I admire someone else. I never ever think anymore, oh, I'd rather be him. No, I want to be me. I'm glad being me. I like me. And that is a level of peace.
So if you look back to, let's say, 8 years ago,
all right,
what would you say? What would you say? Like, man, what a loser I was, or...
I see myself as a guy who was in so much pain. And what I would tell him is that you're in pain because you need to take responsibility for seeing things the way they are, not the way things are supposed to be. Relationships are the way they are, not the way they're supposed to be. If you want to live in a fairy tale world where everybody's happy and nobody ever cheats and everybody's nice, well, you got to grow up, dude, because that's not the reality. You have to deal with the fact that, you know what, people do cheat. You have to deal with the fact that not everybody's nice. You have to deal with the fact that you're not perfect either. You have to deal with the fact that, you know what, the world really doesn't care if you live or die. You have to care if you live or die.
It's true.
And it's not any woman's, no woman is under obligation to have sex with you. But every woman can be given the opportunity to give you the sex that they want to give you.
So if you yourself never ever found out about, the advanced, the techniques about seduction and how to really, seduce women, if you never came across any of that material,
I would be dead.
You serious?
I would be dead. I'm 100% serious. I reached a point where it was either I fix this part of my life or I'm going to kill myself. That was it. I had reached rock bottom because I could not envision living a life either alone or still constantly being in pain.
Wow.
I'm not an average guy who just wanted to get better. I'm not a natural who was just looking to polish his game. I'm not a guy who was already dealing with a high level of success. I am a guy who hit rock bottom so bad that just to get my first lay out of it took me over 2 years. And I wasn't just having to deal with that. I'd be dead. If it wasn't for the stuff that I found in the material I studied, I would not be here talking to you now.
Well, I mean, if you have done it, if you basically did it, like, with your own efforts, you put all that effort in it, and you actually made it, you lived the American dream. Obviously you're in Toronto, but you made it out there by yourself, and if you can do this, I mean, anybody can. I mean,
that's right.
It boggles the mind how all these people out there, I mean, they are so much better off, and they're still not getting it. But it is possible. It really is possible. If you can learn from me or, Frank, I mean, you're going to speed up your learning curve, like, so fast. I mean, we have to go and learn all this stuff by ourselves. We have to go through a lot of pain and through a lot of, errors, to find out the stuff that works.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason that I wrote the books. The autobiography which talks about how I got stood up at my prom, lost the ex-fiance, had a girl who I hung out with for 2 years, and she told me, Frank, I could never date you because I'm of a different culture than you, and I can only marry men of my culture. And after 2 years of her and me hanging out together, she tells me one day, oh, by the way, I'm getting married to this guy, and the guy turns out to be not from her culture. And I said to her, but why? You told me that you could never date me because I was not of your culture. And she says, I don't know, it just happened. He just seduced me. And that's when I realized, that's it. He got her because he seduced her. I have to become a seducer. Writing the books for me was just this like big release of pain. My autobiography now is out there. It doesn't have to be inside me anymore. And when I was doing the trainings, when I was teaching other guys this, they all asked me, can you please write down exactly what your philosophy is about emotional needs?
Yeah.
What is your mother-lover theory? Can you write it out and explain it to us in detail? So 250 pages later, I got that book out.
Wow. And that just deals with your philosophies, or do you also, teach technical stuff that people can just use right off the bat, such as, give me some, everybody keeps asking me, out of 10 emails I get, at least 6 must have come from guys who just don't know what to say when they approach a woman. I always get it every single day. What do I say? What do you say when you approach a woman?
When I approach a woman?
Yeah.
First thing I do is I'm a very direct person. I don't have time to waste. So I'll go in there and I'll pick something about her that's unique. I won't just go up to her and say, hey, I think you're pretty. Because she gets approached like that all the time. It's boring for her. She doesn't have any reason to see you as a human being. So let's say she's wearing a particular type of shoes. Or let's say she's wearing a particular necklace or a brooch or something that she has that nobody else is wearing. Something unique. That's what you need to comment on.
So one of the things is, let's say somebody has a really funky hairstyle.
Right.
Don't you think she would get approached and get a comment on her her hairstyle about at least 5 times within the last hour? And if you go over there and comment on that, then you have to differentiate yourself somehow. So how specifically do you do that, or do you just drop a small comment here, hey, nice outfit, and then you just engage in a more in a deeper conversation?
I get the question here. If she has a really funky hairstyle, then it's the same thing as her being really good looking. She's already gotten comments on it.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
You need to find something else about her that she wouldn't normally get comments on, but something that says something to you. I'll give you an example, okay? My ear is pierced. I wear rings. I wear necklaces. It only makes sense that I would go up to her and comment on her piercings, her necklaces, her rings. And I'll pick something specific. Hey, that's a really unique looking ring. If I'm wearing rings, it makes it legit that I would ask her about her ring. If I have a piercing on my face or my ear, it makes it legit when I ask her about her piercing. If I'm wearing a hat, it makes it legit for me to approach a girl wearing a hat and asking about the hat. That's the first step.
Okay.
The second step, when you approach her about something unique, ask her what the story is behind it.
So let's say for an average guy who does not peacock, he does not dress over the top, he, let's say, just wears a shirt or, just something casual, okay? Now,
what could he comment on?
Yeah, what would you give him? Let's say something you could use in every kind of situation.
Okay, here's something you can use.
Here
it is. I got something. All right. Average guy, doesn't really dress up very much. He sees a girl he likes. He wants to comment on her. Let's say she's wearing very unique earrings. Go up to her and say, you know what? I just want to tell you, I really love those earrings. Now, find something about the earrings that's unique to you. Is it the shade of you? Pretend you're the girl, and you're going to tell me about your earrings. Describe them to me.
This is a very, very key point because I think a lot of people confuse something here. You do not go up to a woman and pay her a compliment like you would, hey, listen, I just came over here and I want to tell you you're really, really pretty. Or, hey, listen, I really, really like your earrings. I think they're pretty. You have to be more dominant. You have to be smoother in the way you say it.
Absolutely.
Because this is
Absolutely.
key. It's not what you say. Seriously, it's how you say it. Because that's why you can pick anything, and you have to be. I wouldn't even say cocky or a little arrogant or. You have to take.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful with the cockiness and the arrogance, because for all she knows, you might be the second guy to approach her, and the first guy was making fun of her.
Yeah.
That's why you have to really see. And also, don't forget, I'm a big guy. So the stuff that short guys can get away with, I never could. A short guy can come up and make a joke and get away with it. But if I come up and I make a joke, I'll get blown out. Because I'm such a big guy, I'm already threatening. I have to come in with a bit more of a human hand in it.
Okay.
So I'll go up and I'll say, I love those earrings. I love the blue in the earrings because the blue reminds me of, and then I'll go into a story of what blue means to me.
But you're definitely not acting like a wimp that is looking up to the woman. I wouldn't even say you're putting yourself above her, but you're certainly yeah.
This is a very key point that I teach at all my seminars about men, women, and equality. Militant feminism was brought in so that men and women would have equal rights under the law. That's why it was brought in. Something happened to our generation of men. We misinterpreted that to equate that men and women are equal. Men and women are not equal. We think differently, we have different body parts, we process information and emotions differently. Don't go up to a girl treating her as an equal. In other words, don't go up to a girl and treat her like a man. Go up to her and treat her like a lady or a woman, whatever terminology works best for you. When I'm approaching a woman, yes, I will respect her right to her body. I will respect her right to be safe. I am not there to beat her. I am not there to be violent. I am not a bully. But when I talk to her, I must be dominant. Why? Because I was born with balls. It's my job to lead. So even if I'm asking her, lady, I love those earrings. The blue in the earrings makes me feel this, and so on and so forth. Where did you buy it? Why did you like those earrings? I am still dominating and leading the conversation.
Right on, right on.
The second thing I do is that no matter what I say to a woman, I still have my emotional needs checklist in my head. So if I'm talking about how the blue in her earrings reminds me of something, I might talk about how the blue in her earrings reminds me of the swimming pool at my parents' country house when I was a little kid, and go into a story about childhood. What do I do with that? I'm catering to the little girl and her check mark emotional need.
But this is very key here because the first line that you say to women is not really important, but the only thing it does is you kick the door open. And it's not just one door because you all have those different doors. You have those. I don't know how many directions you can go into because let's say you start commenting on her earrings, and then as you said, you can, hey, where'd you get those? Oh, I got them from blah blah blah. Oh, really? Listen, and then you just start following up with stories, and then if you, as Frank said, start hitting all those buttons, or what do you call it?
Emotional. I call them. Addressing emotional needs. That's what I call it.
Then you're on the way. The line is really, really not important. It's the way you say it in the beginning. And
that's right.
And then you just, you have to be smart there. You have to know where you're going. You have to be one step ahead of her so, you don't trip over your dick.
That's right. Another thing to add to what you said, because you are so right in that, all communication is gendered. That means that when a man approaches a woman, she already knows why you're approaching. She's probably had better sex in her life than you've had in yours.
Oh, definitely.
She already knows why you're approaching. She doesn't care about that. What she cares about is this guy going to rock my world? I'm going to give him an opportunity to prove himself.
Absolutely
That's it. That's it.
Women know. Women know, guys. You're here for a reason. Why do women go out? well, to dance and stuff. No, they don't, because they
No.
want to be seen. They could as well just dance in their room. That's the reason why they go out. They want to, they
One of my
want God.
mentors told me, dude, you've just echoed it. One of my mentors told me the same thing. He said, why do women go out? Do they go out to drink? No, because it's cheaper to drink at home. They go out to be with their friends? Then why are they going to a club? They can go to a restaurant and talk. It's much more quiet. They can go for coffee. They go out to get male attention.
Yeah, that's it.
Now the question is, do they get the male attention for free, or do they get to work for it? The more she has to work for it, meaning the more she has to qualify herself, and the more you make her feel that the two of you have gotten to know each other, the more likely she is to give you sex.
Yes, this is so important, because whenever you go to a club, women are not stupid. They know that all these guys are looking at her and they're checking out her ass, and that they want to have sex with her, and she knows, even though she's not looking at them, she knows they're there. But if
That's
there's,
right.
the
only danger, there's only one danger in all of this, is that some girls will go out not with the intention of getting sex, but with the intention of getting free stuff and free attention from guys.
Yes, exactly.
That's why in those environments, you don't go in and offer to buy them drinks. You don't go in and offer to do that kind of stuff for them. Why? Because she's only going to have sex with somebody who can show dominance, and offering to buy them drinks and that doesn't show dominance. It says, you know what, I don't like myself enough, so I'm going to try to buy your love. Funny thing about when you buy a woman's love, when the money runs out, so does she.
Exactly. I usually say, listen, you cannot buy a woman's attraction or affection. You can't do that. It only works for a short amount of time, but it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. And, if you're not a challenge to her, if she does not have to work, to get you, at least to some degree, then, you're just going to be put into the friends folder. Yeah, him, he's nice, and,
That's
but
it.
Exactly.
And there's only one way out of that friends category that I've learned, and that is you have to put like 6 months of distance between you and her, and when you go back and let her enter your life again, you have to show that you've made a significant change. How do I know this? That's how I got back my ex-fiance.
Do you think 6 months is enough?
As long as there's a significant change, yeah. You could only even wait 1 month, but as long as in that month there is a significant change. I like to say 6 months because for most of the guys listening to this, a lot of them are young, they're in school. 6 months represents at least one semester of school, and over the course of a break or over the course of a semester, people go through certain periods of change. So it's a good round number. In my case, it took me 7 years
Jesus.
to go from being a loser for a number of years to studying seduction to finally getting to the point where things were going good in my life, getting the harem, getting the multiple lays, breaking up with one girl in the morning, but at night I'm having sex with the other one, and then meeting up with my ex-fiancée again and being ready to handle a weekend's worth of tests. Getting her back. Why? Because she saw such significant change in me. And this is the key here. When a woman sees that you have significantly changed, she must recategorize you. It's in this window of opportunity where you are recategorized. That's where she might say you're no longer a friend, you're a potential lover.
So let's clarify this. You usually get the number 2 question I get is, I know this girl and I think I fucked up, or I know this girl friend, the friend I have, and I don't know, how do I make her go out with you? Now, the reason why she isn't going out with you is probably because you did fuck it up. Now, as Frank
Agreed.
said, the only way you can get her back, a line or a simple technique is not going to fix it. You're not going to get her to be your girlfriend. If you put enough time between of you and you make enough, a big enough change, and then you can go back, and then as Frank said, she will recategorize you and put you either in, well, he's still one of the friends, nah, maybe not, or he's going to be your potential boyfriend or a lover.
You got it.
But this is
You
the
got it
only
exactly.
option you have. A line is not going to fix it. I'm not going to be able to fix it. You can't just, all these people that are asking me all the time, listen, just give me a line. What do I say? How do I get her back? It's not going to work.
No. I don't remember who it was that said this, but this was a very good quote, okay?
Okay.
Love is not blind. Categories are rigid. If a woman categorizes you as a lover, first and foremost, and she has sex with you, even if you're the worst guy for her, an abuser, whatever.
A jerk.
A jerk. She'll still see you as a potential lover. Why? Because the category is rigid. It's not because love is blind. If you were a really nice guy, a good friend, well, guess what? You're in a bad category of her brain. And if you give her any line, she'll still interpret it as he's a nice guy with a good line. And you still won't get laid. That's why you need to show that you've made a significant change in your approach to life and your approach to women. Remember, dude, it took me, from the time my ex-fiancée broke up to the time I got her back, it took me 7 years.
Man,
3 to 4 of those years was involved in my changing who I was.
You know, that's an awful lot of time, but you have come a long way since then. I got to hand it to you.
Thanks, man. It's
seriously.
I tell you, I don't regret the choices I made, but I had to make a lot of sacrifices to be here. And one of those sacrifices is I really put a dent in my career. I was supposed to go back to school and get another degree. That's also been put off. I got this part of my life pretty well taken care of now. The rest of my life still needs attention because I haven't been able to put the attention. But even as bad as all that other stuff is now, I'm still living a better life now than if I had stayed on the path of my career. Like I told you before, if it wasn't for the fact that I found the study of seduction, I would be dead.
You know, you get so many guys that do have money but are not getting laid. Now, you basically just come the other way. You were like, listen.
Yeah, you're right. I don't have looks. Okay, take a look at my website. If I'm not wearing my sparkly shirts or my jewelry or whatnot, I'm an overweight guy, 5'10", brown hair, green eyes. My green eyes are my nicest feature, but I'm still got a pudgy face. I don't have money. No woman has ever been with me because I have money.
You don't even have a car, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and I was still getting laid when I didn't have a car. I was writing them. If you read my books, I have emails from the girls that I was dating at the time, and they say, oh yeah, when I met you in the subway and we rode the train together, this is what I was feeling. I had to pick them up using the bus and subway. I had a car for a period of time, but I got to tell you, my car spent more time in the garage than my dick ever did inside a pussy. That's how bad my car was. Finally, it broke down completely, and I haven't had a car now for a couple of years. I still got a girlfriend now. The most important thing for any woman out there is how a man makes her feel. How do I know this? Because I know guys, and I have counseled guys who are better looking than me. They have muscle. They have money. But when it comes to women, but they're not getting laid. When I'm dealing with a guy who's making 3 to 10 times my salary, and I'm not joking about that, and they're not getting laid, but I am getting pussy. I get women telling me they want to have my babies.
That feels good.
That is, remember I told you the greatest compliment is getting laid?
Yeah.
Let's get specific here, okay? For a woman, the greatest compliment that a man can give her is, I want to marry you.
Probably.
For a man, the best compliment he could get is for a woman to say, I want to have your babies. I have women right now who, if I called them up, and I've left most of them in Montreal, but if I called them up now and said, hey, you know what, I've changed my mind. I'd like to marry you. Can you pay for the wedding? They would do it. And that, my friend, is the best fucking feeling in the world. Because that's saying to me, man, I don't have the looks, I don't have the money, but I can make them feel good. And they love me. And that's a nice feeling.
See,
just to finish this up,
I
never go to bed, I never go to bed anymore thinking, but what if I never meet a girl who likes me? I know that all I got to do is I got to be in a decent mood. I got to be alone with her so I can talk to her without any interruption. And within 3 dates, she'll want to have my kids. And that's a nice place to be.
Very nice, very nice. So if you had the choice right now, you are a successful woman, you're very successful with women, and you were given a choice. God came down from heaven and gave you another choice. And listen, I'm gonna make you look hot. I'm gonna make sexy, and I'm gonna give you money. But you would have to give me your skill of attracting and seducing women. Would you do it?
No.
Would you not do it?
I would, no, just no, absolutely. You know what? If I want to get good looking, all I got to do is go to a gym or get on a program. I got health problems. I mean, I don't drink alcohol. I don't use alcohol in my charges. Let me rephrase that. I don't use alcohol in my seductions.
Right.
I got bad kidneys. I can't drink alcohol.
You can't.
I have all these freaking health issues, and I would love to have a really great body. I got debts like anybody else. That car that kept breaking down, the money that it cost me to keep it running, the money that it cost me to make my move here, hey, I'm in debt just like anybody else. So I could use the wealth in that scenario. I would not change a fucking thing. I like my life the way it is, and as long as your love life is going okay, the rest of your life is manageable. Let me repeat that again.
Yeah, let's
repeat that. As long as your love life is going okay, the rest of your life is manageable. But when your love life sucks, it doesn't matter how good the rest of it is, because you have no one to share it with.
It's true. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't have said it better.
If you visit my website, you'll see a picture of my old apartment in Montreal, the way I used it for seduction. In the wall of the kitchen, I had every award, every degree, all the times I've appeared in the media. If I was in a movie, I had a picture of the movie up on the wall. It was a wall filled with credentials, trophies. I got all those when I wasn't getting laid. I'm telling you this as a guy who at one time had all that other stuff. It meant nothing if there isn't a woman in your life that you know wants to be with you. One of the things that I talk about in my autobiography, From Loser to Seducer, is that there is a form of pain at every level of your development. There's the pain of the loser, and that's where, you have certain concepts of love that are not working out for you. Really liking a girl who's having sex with some other guy.
Right.
Feeling that it's not going to work out. There's the pain of the seducer in training, where you're learning some stuff and then you're doing really well at one point, and then you reach a stumbling block and you make a mistake. Or thinking you got it going really good and then finding out you were wrong and trying to figure out where you went wrong.
Okay.
Running into the exception to the rule. Like, you could be running totally competent game, but you're doing it on a girl who maybe has certain religious beliefs or a certain type of lifestyle that she could never be with you even if she wanted to. And then when you reach the end of this and you become a full-fledged seducer, there's pain there too. There is the pain of how you see the world differently. There's the pain of banging a woman and finding out she had a boyfriend and you didn't know, and having to feel bad about that. There is the pain of how when married women either come on to you or talk to you and tell you secrets, that you sincerely say, you know what, I feel bad for those husbands. The hardest thing about me now, one of the questions I think your readers had asked me was, what do I hate about women? As a loser, I used to hate the fact that women were different from men. That, I couldn't have the same expectations in terms of behavior from a woman that I could expect from a man. As a seducer,
such as
okay, with a guy you can talk to them and maybe have a logical discussion.
Such as being buddy and hey, yeah, completely agree.
Okay, you can have a logical discussion with the guy as to, listen, we should proceed in this manner to get this project done. And the guy will say, you know what, I'll defer to the most logical method. Yeah, let's just do this.
Yeah.
With a woman, there are emotional considerations in the conversation, which at the time I did not understand. I didn't get the concept at the time of emotional needs. Now when a woman talks, I know what it is she's really asking for. I know what it is she means because I've studied the idea of emotional needs.
I actually gave this phenomenon a word. I call it emotional trigger buttons. If you know how to press those buttons, you can pretty much do whatever you want with a woman. But if you don't know how to do this and you're just being a guy, as in, just present logical arguments, you're not pressing anything, and
That's right.
usually she turns you down. And
that's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. In my book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, A Man's Guide to the Emotional Needs of Women, I identify 10 categories of emotional needs. In conversation with a woman or through your actions, as long as you address all 10 emotional needs and you don't violate any of them, you can be pretty much guaranteed a lay within the first 1 to 3 dates. That's the method that I use, and I've used it really successfully.
So do you follow a very strict game plan to go from A to B, or do you kind of break it down into more specific terms or emotional clusters kind of thing that you have to push a woman through to get to where you want her to be, as in girlfriend or having sex, for example?
I think it's the second one. I in my mind, whenever I go on a date or I'm writing an email or I'm talking to a girl on the phone,
right.
In my brain I have a checklist of 10 specific emotional needs that I need to trigger. As you said, I need to push those buttons. If I get all 10 pressed in one conversation, she'll want to meet with me.
Okay.
When she meets with me, she's going to test me to see if I'm congruent with the image of myself that I've already presented to her.
Okay.
Again, I will address all 10 emotional needs.
So give us a couple examples of an emotional need. Do you hit those in one conversation at once you've talked to her? Let's say you met her the first time, or do you spread it out?
I try to hit as many as I can, a variety, in the shortest amount of time possible.
Okay.
So if I'm telling a story,
okay,
I will, in that story, try to address, let's say, 3 to 5 emotional needs with one story.
Okay.
And then I will pick another story to address the other 5 emotional needs. And the biggest mistake I find that a lot of guys make is that when they are looking for these to use your language, push these emotional triggers, they keep pushing the same ones.
Okay.
They keep pushing the same emotional trigger button. Now, if you're with a woman who only needs that button triggered, hey, you're on easy street. For example, let's say the button that you would want to push, the term that I use is emotional need number 9, have high-quality sperm.
High-quality sperm.
High-quality sperm. You must demonstrate you have high-quality sperm, that your children with her are going to be in a position to also carry those traits and replicate.
Okay.
One of the ways that a guy can do that is to show that he is financially successful. That's one of the ways to prove high-quality sperm. Well, if you're with a woman who's a gold digger, then that's the only emotional need you need to trigger. If, however, you're with a woman who's not a gold digger, yes, it's great that you're wealthy, but I know a lot of wealthy guys who still get turned down for sex. And I look at them and I say, you know what? It's because you keep pressing just that one button. She still has 9 other emotional needs you have to trigger. So
the first one I would say one of those trigger buttons must be the fun factor, the make her laugh. That must be one. Big one. Or do you actually break this one down?
I break them all down, and I can break down making her laugh, and I can tell you how in my system that would apply. Emotional need number 2 is that women want to feel a range of emotions.
Okay.
You can't just make her happy. You have to give her a range of emotions. The use of humor, when used in the right context, gives her that range of emotion.
Okay.
Humor is a magnificent tool. It can make somebody who's feeling really mad feel really good within the span of, a couple of minutes. Humor, of course, if you add some cockiness to it or some arrogance to it, humor can also make somebody who's feeling really good all of a sudden feel really bad about themselves, especially if it's a mean joke.
Right.
The reason I say that humor alone, in my system, humor alone is not enough is because, you know what? I used to be the guy who made all the jokes and make people laugh. I didn't get laid. Women don't want to fuck a stand-up comedian. They don't want to have sex with the Three Stooges.
So what do you mean?
Humor.
Humor. There's good humor that gets women attracted sexually, and there's humor that makes women laugh but not really attracted to you sexually, as in they want to kiss you, or go as far as having sex with you. So do you stay away from that bad kind of humor altogether? Let's say you don't crack jokes and basically make a clown out of yourself, because there's actually danger. The way you dress, you can go into that route really, really quickly, and people go like, "Hey, look at the clown over there."
When I teach guys, when I'm helping out newbies, the first thing I tell them is no self-deprecating humor, zero.
Right.
And no making jokes, because you're not there to entertain her. You are not there to be her entertainment monkey. If you're going to use humor, humor must be used to give her a range of emotion. And then after you use humor, maybe tell her something that, be honest with her and tell her something that maybe she might not like to hear. If it makes her angry, that's a good thing. Why? Because you've just given her a range of emotion. The biggest problem with guys who are really starting out in seduction is that they always hear a girl say, "Oh, I love a guy with a sense of humor." I got news for you. I see who these women end up with, and these guys don't necessarily have great senses of humor, but they do provide these women with a great emotional range. Would it be okay with you if I just read you what my 10 emotional needs are?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that question, if you want to reveal the question or just want to reveal a couple. But if that's okay with you, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give you all 10.
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great.
All right.
I think we all going to love to hear that.
All right.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Emotional need number 1, the protection of her most valuable asset, her reputation. She needs to know that her reputation is safe with you. How does she test you for this? She might tell you about a story of one of her quote-unquote friends. My friend Janet, she went and did this, she went and did that, and she will wait to see how you respond. Now, if you turn around and say, "Well, that Janet is a slut," you have just proven to that girl that you do not protect people's reputations. If, however, you turn around to the girl and say, "Hey, you know what? What kind of a friend are you to Janet to be telling me that sort of thing? That's something I don't need to know. That's confidential." That's an example of you being able to protect another girl's reputation. That girl is now more likely to have sex with you. Another example of this, and this is really key. Let's say you have sex with a girl and she tells her girlfriend. Her girlfriend comes up to you and says, "Oh, Becky told me that you had sex with her last week and she says you were really good." Now, what do most guys do? Most guys will turn around and say, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm that good." Not me. I'll turn around and say, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about."
So do you say that with a slick face, or do you actually keep
straight.
a complete poker face? No, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Or
Yeah.
do you, because I can never pull that off, because that's one of the things. I cannot really lie when it comes to these things, because a woman just knows that, that cocky face, yeah, definitely. It's not just a bad thing, actually. But yeah,
in my
go
case,
ahead.
I'm a very serious guy.
Yeah.
So the humor has never really worked for me, but this does. Another good response that I might use, and I've actually used this with a girl who came up to me in a club and had seen me at a house party about a week before, and had seen me gaming another girl at that house party. She says, "Hey, did you take that girl home with you that night?" I turned around to her and I said, "Look, I don't know how you were raised, but where I come from, we don't talk about these things in public. It's really none of your business." The girl was so taken back that I had said, "It's not your business." She hung around me for an extra half hour trying to qualify herself to me. Why? Because she knows that if she has sex with me, that I'll protect her reputation like I protected the reputation of the girl before. For me, this has actually been useful.
So let me clarify this. If you basically just keep quiet and you don't boast about your adventures, and you actually let girls know that, or they know that you're not that kind of guy that goes around telling everybody, "Hey, I slept with her and her and her and her," then she's actually more likely going to, respond
Her
to you
friends,
positively.
yeah, her friends are more likely to have sex with you as well. And you'll be in a situation where one day you'll be at a party, and you'll know that you will have had sex with, let's say, 3 girls in the party. And if the girls tell each other, which they always do, they all know that you would never confirm that you had sex with any of them.
Okay.
So that's been useful to me. But that's because that also fits with my persona. That fits with my personality. As long as she knows that you're going to protect her reputation, she'll be more than willing to do all kinds of things with you because you've already proven to her that you'll protect other people's reputations when you talk to her.
Okay.
Next, emotional need number 2. Women want to feel a range of emotion. The biggest mistake that nice guys make is that they try to make a woman happy. If you make a woman happy all the time and solve all of her problems, guess what? She's going to find you boring. Every now and then, I will do things, even with my current girlfriend, I will do things to make her mad. I'll do things to just annoy her. Why? Because she needs that emotional range. Now, here's the key. By the way, here's the key element.
Okay.
When you're dealing with an emotionally damaged woman, let's say a woman who really, one of these emotionally deranged women who are troublemakers, who maybe they have maybe they're on a medication to keep themselves more stable or something.
Okay.
A sign that these women are trouble is when they need an abnormal range of emotion. The average woman needs some drama in her life. She needs something to complain about. This is one reason why women love bad boys. Women love the bad guy because he gives her something to complain about. So if she's always happy to be with you, chances are she's a likely candidate to cheat on you. Whenever I ask a woman, so are you really happy in your relationship? She'll say, oh, I'm totally happy. I already know.
But. There's always a but. As in the but, she's not going to tell you, and then, well, everything is fine. Well, it's completely true, because it's not really nice, but being perfect is boring.
That's right.
Seriously, that's why I know. That's why you don't want to be perfect. You don't need to be this. I'm not even saying the Prince Charming. You don't need to be her perfect man, because if you are, then you are boring in her eyes, and she will just go for somebody else. That's not perfect. That's flawed. And that's
right.
Yeah.
Because she needs that emotional range. She wants some upheaval in her life. She wants something to complain about. Every now and then, one of the nastier things that I've ever said to a girl is that we were together having dinner, and just out of the blue, I told her, that if we ever have kids, I'm going to have them DNA tested, right?
That is cool, man. That is slick.
And she was really upset, and she was upset for most of the evening. But then, because and it was good, though. It was good. Why? Because I gave her something to be angry about. Because anytime a woman turns around and says, I love being with you, everything is just so fine, it's just so easy to be with you, I'm just so content, oh boy, you're in trouble, you better do something. So I'll say something like that, and I know it makes her mad, and I know it pisses her off, but that's a good thing. When a woman gets angry at you, remember, that's a good thing. As long as you're not violating her, as long as you're not, let's say, hurting her reputation or doing stuff like that, it's a good thing because it gives her something to rage about. It's when the woman has nothing to complain about that she doesn't feel alive. Men and women are different this way. Whereas a guy likes a certain amount of stability that he can rely on, a woman will need the stability to survive. But on the side, she wants a guy like me that's going to take her on an emotional roller coaster. That's my job as a man.
Couldn't have said it better.
All right, are you ready for number 3?
Yeah, go ahead.
Emotional need number 3. Cater to the little girl in her. You have to know the difference between when she's just talking for the sake of talking and when she just needs you to give her a hug. Sometimes all she needs is just to be reassured like a little kid. If you've ever been in a situation where your girl is just really nervous, maybe she's having a panic attack, maybe she's just really frustrated, and she just wants to whine and she just wants to cry, you know what? Let her cry. She needs to cry. Remember the emotional range? She has to get that emotion out. Well, if she starts crying, let her cry. Give her a hug. Treat her like you would treat a 5-year-old girl. You would be amazed how this turns her around and turns her into the most loyal sex kitten you could ever possibly imagine. Giving her a hug and letting her know that it's okay, it's all right, I'm going to take care of everything, it's all going to be okay. Part of being a man is that we have to kill the inner boy. The little boy must die so that the man must take over. Women, however, still have that little girl in them. They don't get to kill the little girl. The little girl is always going to be a part of them. Part of the reason that the little boy in us must die is so that we can be a man and take care of the little girl in her. So if ever she's really acting out, but really badly, talk to her like you would a 5-year-old girl, and you'd be amazed how they respond. I got a story here, and if the story is not interesting, you'll tell me. I call this the ice cube story. I was dating a woman once a week. She was coming by my place every Friday night for dinner and a bang. She knew I was seeing other women, but she didn't really want to know the details. Here's what she did. She filled up my ice cube tray one week, put it in the fridge, and when she came by the following Friday, she went to check my ice cube tray. When she saw that some ice cubes had been used, she started flipping out. You've had other people over. I know it. Look, the ice cubes are missing here. You must have poured drinks for them. You must have used ice cubes. I had no idea what the hell she was talking about, this whole ice cube tray. At that moment, the phone rings. I go pick up the phone to see who it is. She ran into another room to pick up the phone to see if it was another woman calling me.
Oh, God.
Well, it turned out to be one of my male friends, and he was like, Frank, what's going on there? I said, well, it's so-and-so. She's here. She's having a bit of a fit. And he says, well, tell her not to do that again. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, dude. I've got it under control. I hung up with him. Now, I have a choice. I can either scream and yell at her and get into a screaming match or put her down or whatever. I decided to do exactly this, cater to the little girl in her. I called her over as if I was an angry father and she was my 5-year-old daughter. I said, come here, come into the room, I want to speak with you. I sat her down on the bed, and I began to scold her as if I was scolding a little girl.
Okay.
Now, I understand that you're very upset right now, but there's certain behavior that is not tolerated. I've never treated you in that respect. When you are in my home, when you are under this roof, you will not pick up the phone when it's not your phone. You will always treat people with respect and politeness. So basically, I scolded her like a little girl.
That's what I usually do as well. But I'd actually take you further than that. I just treat her like my little sister, seriously, like a 6-year-old kid, just as you say, and it works. It seriously works. They're looking up to you.
Yeah, because you just triggered something in her, and the way that situation ended. As I said, now I want you to go into the living room and I want you to go think about what you've just done.
Go to your room. Go and think about what you've done.
Can you believe it, man? The woman got up. This is a grown woman. She got up. She actually went into the living room, sat down, and she just stood there pensive. And then I went back in the kitchen, and when I finished, doing the dishes or whatever it was I was doing. And then, 20 minutes later, I came to see her, and I said, well, have you thought about what you were doing? Again, following up like the good parent. And she was very, very servicing that night. It was a good night.
Nice, very nice.
All right. Emotional need number 4. Being dominant and taking responsibility for leading the relationship. This includes making all the decisions and taking 100% of the responsibility for the sex in a relationship. Sex has got to be the man's fault. One of the things that I do is that I'll tell every single girl that I'm with, don't worry, it's my fault.
What do you mean by your fault? If
she
it's bad,
says,
it's your fault, or if it's not happening, it's your fault, or...
Everything. Whatever happens, when she's with me, whatever happens, it's my fault. If we have sex, it's my fault. If we don't have sex, it's my fault.
So are you taking away the that social pressure they have by doing that? That's
right.
Okay.
You got it exactly. Dude, you got it exactly. So they are never responsible for the sex that happens if the sex happens. It's always my fault.
So here, let me clarify this, because this is what I usually get. I usually get once I'm with a girl, I'm at home, and we're making out on the couch, then the first thing they say is, "But we're not going to have sex."
Okay,
Okay,
now let's
and
look
I'm
at
just
that.
gonna is. So are you gonna say? Are you gonna kind of shove it under the table and say, "Listen, if that it's my fault. It's okay. It's my fault."
Well, the first thing I would do is that I would protect her reputation.
Okay.
So the first line I give her is, listen, whatever happens here, it's no one, it's not anybody's business. It's my fault, meaning I take the responsibility, and I would never make you do something you wouldn't want to do, which is for another emotional need, her physical safety.
Right.
The idea is that her reputation will be protected. The idea is that if you do have sex, it's the man's fault, so it's never her obligation. And when she tells you that, she also wants to know that she's physically safe. If you get it, what do most guys do in that situation? They get into a logical argument.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Exactly. And then, of course, then she has to justify why not. That's not what she's asking you, okay? It's a test. Behind the test is a potential emotional need. If the emotional need is she wants her reputation protected, all you got to say is, honey, it doesn't matter what happens between us. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just let it happen naturally. But if it does, it'll be my fault.
Absolutely right.
Another example of being dominant is whenever she says, I don't know, what do you want to do?
Yeah, that's a good one.
What's the biggest mistake that most men make? They
I
turn
don't
it
know
back
what
on
you
her.
want to do.
Exactly. To a woman, when a guy says, I don't know, what do you want to do? Here's how she's thinking about it. Here's how she's hearing it. She's hearing, this guy doesn't love me enough to take the lead.
Exactly. Well, here's a funny thing, because I usually tell my guys, listen, you have to lead everything. If you don't, then you're going to have a problem, because women follow guys. They follow. They're not going to lead by themselves, because they're usually looking for somebody so they can follow. But if you're not leading and she wants to follow, you're going to have a big problem.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. In my book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, as well as my book, From Loser to Seducer, I present the Brother Kermit theory. Here
Brother
it is.
Kermit's theory.
The Brother Kermit theory, or the Frank B. Kermit theory.
Okay.
A woman can only play one of two roles in any man's life. She's either your mother or she's your lover. That's my theory. That's my base theory for all of seduction. If you do not take the lead, she has to behave like your mother. If she behaves like your mother, she will be fucking a guy like me on the side. If, however, you're taking the lead in the relationship, she gets to be your lover. If she gets to be your lover, she'll be too busy to have sex with me on the side.
You know, I completely agree with you there, but what if, now listen, there's going to be a lot of gals out there just screaming for our heads. It can happen that a woman is going to be your friend, right? But
No.
usually, it happens. But if that happens, then you are doing something wrong, and
Agreed.
you must not get a lot of action if you actually have female friends, or a lot of them.
I absolutely agree with you. That's in my book as well. In Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, I actually talk about the concept of female friends. Listen, if she's being your female friend, she's being your friend because she doesn't want to fuck you.
Yeah.
You've done something wrong. She doesn't want to fuck you. And let's go a step further here and tell me if you agree with this.
Okay, go ahead.
My theory is that when a female friend is making you dinner, when she's buying you stuff, when she's being a good buddy to you, she's doing all of that out of the guilt of not fucking you.
I shouldn't answer this question, but you are so on the money. You are so on the money. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. I couldn't have put it better.
Because I've had guys that I've counseled, and they tell me, no, listen, this girl is different. She takes me out to dinner. And then my next question to them is, oh, yeah? Fine. Is she sucking your dick? He says, well, no. I said, then the reason she's taking you out to dinner is she feels guilty for not sucking your dick.
Oh God, this is a great conversation so far, but This is really funny because I never, ever, ever had a female friend that lasted for more than, well, we either ended up having sex or it just didn't work out. Because,
That's right.
if you as a guy can keep, a female friend, then, see, it's not really working. It's not.
No. Listen, one of my base philosophies of life, this is base philosophy of life for Brother Kermit. We were born to fuck. We were put on this planet because our father's sperm fertilized our mother's eggs. They were born to fuck. That's why we're here. Now, why are we here? Because we're born to fuck. We're born to go out there and find other women. When you have a female friend, it means somewhere along the way you did something wrong. I don't have that many female friends. But if she is a friend, she's a friend maybe because, and I do have a rule about this,
Okay.
if she's the girlfriend of a guy that I know, she's off limits.
So you don't touch any of your buddies' girls, like
No.
golden rule. Yeah.
It's a golden rule. I have one female friend back in Montreal. She is the ex-girlfriend of one of my guy friends, and he's told me, hey, man, she's off limits. And I said, you know what? I value my friendship with him, so she's off limits.
Yeah.
This girl, however, does things like she helps me move. She'll come over she'll make me dinner. She'll do all these things. But why can't I be with her? Because I don't have the skill? No, it's because she's off limits for me. Because I respect my friend's value. Other than that, other than the fact, like, could it be, I don't know, maybe it's a girl I work with and I don't want to, I don't want to have sex with somebody that I work with, especially if she has any measure of authority that could hamper my future. I don't play those type of games. It's not worth it. I can get enough women on the side. But if she's being your friend and you don't have a legitimate reason outside of those things that I've just described, dude, you did something wrong. A real friend will get you laid. Now, if this girl is not willing to have sex with you herself, is she willing to introduce you at least to other girls for sex? And if she's not, cut her loose. You're wasting your time. In my book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, I have an entire chapter in there called The Emotional Cookie Man.
The Cookie Man.
The Emotional Cookie Man. Think of this, right? What does a little girl do when she wants a cookie from Grandma? She goes up to Grandma and she says, Grandma, can I please have a cookie? I love you so much. La, 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 la. And she's got the big smile and the big eyes. So what does Grandma do? Grandma goes, grabs the cookie, gives it to the little girl. The little girl immediately turns around. The sweet talking has stopped. The eyes are no longer sparkling. The smile is gone, and she eats her cookie. She got what she wanted. That's what women do to nice guys. Hi, Robert. How you doing? Can you come over? I'm feeling really down. Can you buy me this? Can you get me that? And then Robert thinks, wow, she's calling me. She needs me. I'm going to go be her hero. So he goes out. He spends money on her. He gives her attention. He does all this stuff for her. But if at the end of the day he's not getting laid.
Even goes further than that. Hi, you're such a nice guy. You going to buy me a drink?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. You've got it. Yes, you totally got it. I call these things, I call the guy in that situation, dude, you're just an emotional cookie. She gets her emotional cookie.
Emotional cookie.
The emotional. The night that I came up with this phrase, the night I came up with the idea of the emotional cookie man, I was at a party. This was early in my development. I still hadn't gotten laid, and I had been studying now for approximately 2 years and a couple of months. And while at this party, I had lost my weight. I went from being morbidly obese to about the size I am now. And I was wearing pants that were still too large for me. And everybody in the party was commenting, Frank, you've lost so much weight. Frank, you look so great. Frank, we're really impressed with how you're improving. This gorgeous-looking woman, who almost every guy in the room had tried to hit on, but she was just a big tease, came right up to me, put her arm around me, and was talking about, my God, yeah, you look so great. She's playing with my pants. And I'm thinking, wow, finally a girl is really showing me some attention. Here's where I make a mistake. I put my arm around her. And then I start to compliment her, and I say, you know what, you're kind of nice looking too. I like the hair. I like this. Guess what happened?
She got you.
She walked away. She walked away. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell went wrong. She came up to me. She was giving me all this attention. I gave her the same attention back. She walks away. And at this point, I actually had studied enough game to know that, okay, there's something I'm not getting here. And I came to realize, I said, you know what? She wasn't even coming to me because she was interested. She just saw everybody else pay attention to me. She wanted me to give her some attention. That was it. That was her cookie. That was her cookie. She wanted the attention. She wanted the drama. She came over, said a few nice things. I said a few nice things back. Boom, she's gone. And I watched her do that all night with all these other guys. And it was just ridiculous. That's when I realized, you know what? All she wanted was her cookie. She didn't give a damn about me. Because if she cared about me, we'd have sex. One of the things that's in my book, From Loser to Seducer, is I talk about the greatest compliment in the world. The greatest compliment in the world is sex. When someone tells you you're a great guy, you're a wonderful person, you're a nice person, but they don't have sex with you, it's an insult. I don't want to be told I'm a nice guy. I don't want to be told I'm great. I don't want to be told I'm good looking. But if she turns around and says, I want to have sex with you, now that's a compliment.
Completely agree. Completely agree. That is... Actually, this is pretty harsh if you say that. Because
it is harsh.
In terms of what works and what doesn't, that's the only option you have. And that's the only thing you should go for.
Dude, don't forget that where I'm coming from, okay, I was never a natural. I was an average guy. I lost my virginity at 18. I struggled. I got stood up at my prom. That's, I went through some really bad stuff. I lost my ex-fiance to one of my best friends.
To one of your best friends?
One of my best friends. Lost my ex-fiance to one of my best friends.
And he didn't do anything about it. No rules, no respect, no anything. He just said, okay, well, fuck it. Fuck Frank.
No, this is the thing, okay? To my face, he would tell me things like, man, I don't know how you can stand her. She's such a pain. I could never be with her. I could never like her. She's just too much drama. But behind my back, he was writing her love letters.
Oh, man, that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, at 16, I get stood up at my prom. In university, I lose my ex-fiancée to one of my best friends. In between that, I was an average guy. Sometimes I get lucky, sometimes I wouldn't. I lost my virginity at 18. I had a couple of girlfriends. And after I broke up with my ex-fiancée, I dated a few married women, got that out of my system. And then I started my journey of 5 years with no sex because I just had it. I'd had enough. And I just wanted to figure this out.
So what do you think would be the difference between, because, after that 5 year of dry spell, you did actually, not well, but you did okay.
Well, I went from 5 years of no sex to having 5 girlfriends at the same time. Other things that happened to me after the harem of 5, I had a poly date. Valentine's Day came around. I had 2 girlfriends at the same time, and I brought the 2 girls together for Valentine's Day.
Nice move.
It was a nice Valentine's Day dinner. You can read about that in my book, From Loser to Seducer.
How did that pan out? Cat fight or?
Not at all. I had really prepared both of them. I managed the situation well. I gave them a lot of time to be alone. I venue changed about 4 times on the date. And it almost turned into a threesome. But one of the girls got really, really freaked out, and the threesome didn't happen. But it was still a really fantastic experience. And the real clincher in my development, the day I got my redemption, is I got my ex-fiancée back.
The one you originally lost to one of your best friends.
That's right. About 4 years later, I got her back.
And what do you say? What did you say? Did you blow her off, or did you...
Well, no, we were together for a month. And at that point, I had been studying seduction for about 4 years.
Oh, okay.
And here's what I can tell you. No, sorry, wait. Yeah, I had been studying seduction for about 4 years, and it had been 7 years that we had been apart. So I got her back after 7 years.
So you're a completely new man than
Exactly.
you were before, and you knew how the game was played,
and I did everything right. And because she was my ex-fiancée, she knew every button to press. She pressed them all. She's telling me about these other guys she had sex with while her and I are lying in bed just to test me. I write about the entire story in my book, From Loser to Seducer.
Okay.
And a month into that relationship, all the bad stuff from our old relationship started to come back. And that's when I realized, and I said, you know what? I changed so much. I am completely a different man. I even got a girl who saw me become a complete loser, wanted me back, and I'm still having these problems. That's when I knew the relationship then wasn't just, it doesn't matter how good I am. Some relationships just aren't meant to work out. And that's a reality that hit me. I got to tell you that the peace that I found when I figured that out was fantastic. My ex-fiancée and I are still on good terms today. And when I put out my book, Loser to Seducer, I actually gave her a copy since she's so featured in it. She wrote me a very positive review.
Seriously?
Of my book. Yeah, it's up on my website. If you visit my website, franktalks.com, and you look at the page for reviews of Loser to Seducer,
did you put it up there already?
Yeah, you'll see a review there by my ex-fiancée where she says things like, when she remembers the man I was, she remembers how needy and clingy I was, but then when she saw me that weekend, and even now, she sees me as the type of man that she originally fell in love with all those years ago.
And did you ever get back together with her, or did you just kind of say, "Oh,
we were together.
Thing of the
we
past"?
We were together for a month, and after that month, it was like, you know what, this is not working out. But now I know it's not because I failed.
It's because
I did everything right. It's because, you know what, sometimes, no matter how much two people really care about each other, a relationship, it just doesn't work out. She has issues, I have my issues, but it isn't because I wasn't man enough. It's just because, guess what, it's not supposed to work out with everybody.
Yeah.
I was able to make her fall in love with me again. I was able to do all the right things. I was able to seduce her. But we were just not meant to be.
That's a true story.
Completely true. It's in my autobiography. You can read the review from my ex-fiancée up on my website. It's all there.
Okay. So see, back to those 10 pointers you started out.
All right. Let's get to emotional need number 5.
Yeah.
This is a big one, by the way, and most last-minute resistance that you're always going to get, it comes from this one here. So you need to address this emotional need throughout the date. And if you're in a long-term relationship, especially if you're doing the open relationship thing, you need to address this next emotional need. Emotional need number 5. She fears abandonment. This is part biological programming, as in the event she is left with child, she needs to be sure that she will not be abandoned and left alone to care for it. In other words, you have to make her feel secure.
In terms of money or emotions?
Everything. Everything. She needs to know that you will not pick up and leave her.
Okay.
So some women are scared that if they have sex with you, you're going to leave her tomorrow. Here's a way how you combat this. During your first date with her, while you're walking the street or while you're talking about stuff, find out stuff about stuff that she hasn't done. What? You've never gone to that restaurant? Oh, we should go there in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
what?
I get it.
You really want to see such and such a movie when it comes out? Okay, tell you what, when that movie comes out, you and me are going to go together. What? You've never been to that particular museum or landmark in the city? Oh, you know what? We got to go sometime then.
You know,
first date.
Go ahead.
On that first date, you're planning your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth date. It reassures her that you're there for longer than just the night. The fear of abandonment, one last point about this. This is 50% of the reason why even an average guy can still get married. 50% of the reason why a woman chooses the average guy husband is because the chances are that the average guy husband will not abandon her.
Well, the downside to this is if they actually marry the average husband, they on one side they have the stability and they know he's not going to run off with some other woman, but the payoff is going to be the emotional roller coaster if the guy she chose is really just average. And as you say, the world, we get so many suicides because, all the divorces, and that must be the connection, and it probably is.
Yeah, I mean the fact is that women, when they choose a husband, they deal with the biological clock. Their clock is ticking. It's very real for them. Our society now forces young people to spend most of their time in school and getting an education instead of going out there living life and experiencing life. So when a woman has finally finished her education, she's already in her early 20s. If she waits, 7 years before she finally starts having her first kid, I mean, over 30 is already a dangerous time for women to be having children. These women feel the pressure of their biological clocks, incredibly. So at some point, she might wake up one day and she realizes, oh my, I'm 34 years old, and if I don't have a kid within the next 2 years, I may never have a child. Or if I have a child after 40, I risk a lot of different health issues. I could die in childbirth. So she goes and she tries to find the nicest chump she can, who she thinks, this guy, okay, he's got a good job. He'd be a good provider. He won't abandon me. So that's how the average guy. That's 50% of the reason why the average guy gets married. The woman just reaches a point where her biological clock is ticking. She doesn't think she's going to do any better in a short amount of time. Well, she settles. And I can tell you, as a man who has been with married women, that these women do love their husbands, but their husbands don't satisfy them
sexually.
Well, not even sexually. I've been with women who were sexually satisfied with their husbands, but they were still missing something else. So women will use sex to gain other forms of intimacy. One of the questions that one of your readers had for me is, have you ever gotten a girl who has a boyfriend? The answer is yes. I have been with women who have boyfriends. I have been with women who are married. It's easier than dating a single woman. A girl who's single has options. You have to be better than all of her other options. But a woman who has a husband or a boyfriend, you just got to be able to figure out what he's not providing for her, and you provided for her.
So can you usually tell what is missing, or do you just go along and just basically just run through your game plan as far as you can and kind of, get your feel, of her where it might be lacking, and then you just press hard in those areas?
I've been fortunate ever since I put out these books and I come up with my theories that I'll just talk about those relationship theories with a woman. And I'll go down the list of 10 points like I'm going over now with you.
Okay.
And whatever point she turns around and says, oh my God, that's so true. My husband doesn't do this. My husband doesn't do that. Or my boyfriend would never do this. He doesn't understand that.
So you actually talk about those. You talk about relationship.
These 10 points. These 10 things. What makes a real relationship work? And then I'll just go through my 10 points. So the first thing I got to do, a guy's got to protect a woman's reputation. And I'll give exactly the same stories I gave to you, I'll give to the girl. What does this communicate about me? It says that if she has sex with me, I won't tell.
Makes sense.
If I talk about how a woman needs a range of emotion, women are, like, the guys aren't really sure about this stuff. They're listening like, yeah, but, that doesn't make sense to me. I talk about this with women. Women are right on board. They totally get it.
So do they get really into it, into the conversation, and just go, yeah, that is so true. Did you hear about this? Blah 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 blah. And
the next thing you know,
do you not kind of level? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, no. Go ahead.
Do you not kind of level yourself to, I wouldn't say the friends level kind of thing, but do you actually?
No.
Do you start creating still attraction if you talk about those things?
Absolutely. I am able to generate attraction because I have no interest in having female friends. I have zero interest in having female friends.
Okay.
So even if a woman turns around and says, "Oh, if we're talking, right, and I give her my phone number or I give her my card and I have her tell her to give me a call or something,"
Right.
if she turns around and she says anything along the lines of, "Well, I have a boyfriend," my response to that is usually, "I understand. Don't worry. I would never do anything to hurt your primary relationship."
Nice touch.
And if she still insists, "Oh, she just wants to be friends. She wants to be friends," I'll get up and leave.
Right then and there. Okay, cool.
Right then and there.
Get up and leave.
That same girl who I did you remember the Ice Cube story?
Yeah.
Here's another story of a girl that reminds me of her, okay? I call this the Vermont story. I went up for Victoria Day weekend to see this girl in Vermont. We were lovers for a period of time, then we stopped being lovers. And then she called me up and said, "Listen, I'm going to Vermont for the weekend. Why don't you meet me there on this campground?" So I went. We're on this campground. I bring some food. I bring some stuff. I bring marshmallows. I've always wanted to roast marshmallows. Didn't do it for years. That was my thing for that weekend. Have sex and roast marshmallows. Well, we go for a walk, and I'm there for maybe a couple of hours, right? I get there. We go for a walk on the grounds. We're holding hands. We're talking. Turns out that she was supposed to come on that trip with her boyfriend, but her boyfriend doesn't like nature. She was supposed to come then with a homosexual male friend, but they had a fight, so she was alone. She gives me a call. I'm understanding that it's going to be a romantic weekend. Right after lunch, I start slipping my hand up her shirt. I start doing all the old things. And she's like, hey, what are you doing? And I think that she's just playing hard to get. And I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean? What do you think I'm doing? Come here." And it's like, no. Now, again, because of our past relationship, I think she's just fooling around.
Right.
Then it dawns on me, she's serious. She has no interest in having any sort of sexual contact. She says, "Listen, I have a boyfriend now. I don't want any sexual contact."
But you were lovers before.
That's right. I mean, the stuff that her and I did, I got videotape footage of this. This is
Okay.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there that was ever forbidden before. So basically, she just sits there and says, "Frank, I don't want a relationship with you. I have a boyfriend now. I don't want to cheat on him, and I don't see you that way anymore." And she goes on to say how, for whatever reason, that she just wants to be friends. And I look at her and I say, "What are you talking about?" I said, "First of all, I'm not gay. You think that what? You think I'm like your friend Bozo over there, the gay? Now I understand why the gay guy wasn't coming here. You're an idiot." Well, I didn't say that, but that was pretty much the sentiment. So there I was in Vermont. I had planned for a nice 3-day weekend, and she insisted, "No, Frank, I have a boyfriend. All we can ever be is friends." So I said, "Well, you know what? I think I need to leave." She's like, "What?" I got up, packed my stuff, put it in the car, and I left her in Vermont. And she says, "But you're leaving already?" I said, "Why?" And I told her.
Why?
Why? I said, "Well, let's see. You're not interested in sex, and I want to make the most of the rest of the day." And I got in the car, and that day I spent more time in the car than I did on the campgrounds, driving to and from Vermont from Canada. I have zero interest in having female friends. Unless they're buying my books or helping me get laid, there's no point. There is no point. So when I talk to a girl about these 10 points, these 10 emotional needs, it turns them on. Because finally they're with a guy who gets it. Like when I'm talking about being dominant, one of the examples I'll use is I'll say, sometimes what a woman wants is just to be taken. And they just want their hair pulled, and they want some guy to look them in the eye and say, "I'm going to have you right now." Now, while I'm describing this, my hand is in her hair, I'm giving it a good tug, and I am looking her in the eye the same way I would as if I were just about to have sex with her, and I'm using my tonality in the same way as if I was just having sex with her. So she knows that, oh, this is a guy who gets it. This is a guy who knows how to have sex with a woman. This is a guy who knows how to lead a relationship.
You have two options here. A is you actually talk about those things, and you don't actually tell her that you get it, but you actually display to her, listen, this is what you should do, and you openly talk about those things. Now the other part is that you do know how to do things like all these nationalists do, but they don't really talk about this. Is this your unique approach to seduction in your own style
That's right.
that
It
you
is.
employ? Okay. So how
This is my
effective
own.
is it? How effective is it?
The response I get is so powerful. My biggest problem now is the LMR that I get, the last minute resistance that I get.
Which is just
Now
before you having sex, she
just
backs
before
off a
having
little.
sex, she backs off and she's afraid to have sex with me. Before it was because I wasn't addressing her emotional needs. Now it's because I'm too smooth. I actually get women saying,
This is too
I'm afraid
fast.
to be with you. This is too fast. You're just too smooth. How do I know you're legit? So I'll grab the book and I'll say, look, I wrote the book. Here's page 44. You see the emotional needs on page 44 or whatever page it is? I wrote the book. That's my picture on the back of it.
Do they not get up and leave because they say, "Oh, hold on, player," or do they actually stay and wow, this is interesting. Let's
They
see.
stay at that point, because I do make it a point to show vulnerability throughout the date. I present myself as human. They're very intrigued. As long as they feel you're attainable, they'll stay. It's when they feel you're no longer attainable, that's when they'll go. I had a book signing in Montreal, and there was a woman there a friend of mine who also was talking to her. He tells me later, he says, Frank, I think that girl was a lesbian. But I was managing to get this lesbian attracted. Because she's reading part of my book at my book signing, and she came up to me and started saying, what's this thing about harem management, and where are your harem girls? And she's going on and on and on and on. And I just treat her like I treat a 5-year-old girl. Excuse me, don't speak to me in that manner. When you speak to me politely and introduce yourself, then I'll answer your question. So she immediately changes her tune, and she's like, I'm sorry, my name is so-and-so. I said, nice to meet you, so-and-so. Now what's your question? Oh, well, you said in the book that you have like harem management, but I don't see any of your harem girls here. It's just guys here with your books. And I responded to her, I would never hurt the reputation of my harem. I would never bring a girl here where she's going to be hit on by all kinds of guys and then, have her reputation be brought into question. Part of my job as a man is to protect her reputation. And then she says, how does a girl become a member of your harem? So right there, I know I got interest.
Nice.
And all I did was address the emotional need.
But let me clarify this. This was a lesbian. This was a woman who had no
This was
interest
a
in
woman.
guys, and you still managed to pull some attraction out of her.
That's right. At the end of the night, because at that point, some of my friends, one of my guy friends came up to me and says, man, I really like that girl. So I said, you know what? Go for it. I'm planning to leave the city anyway, so hey, if you really like her, go for it. Go talk to her. Go have fun. You can even tell her you were one of my mentors. Just go have fun. So he goes and he spends his time with her. At the end of the night, I go up to that same girl and say, hey, listen, how about getting a picture of all of us for my website? The girl freaks out. Website? A picture with us? No, we can't, because I don't want to be seen as supporting this, and I gotta go. And she grabs her female friend, literally runs away. And I was thinking to myself, what did I do wrong? That's the first thing that always goes through my mind when a search doesn't work out.
Right.
When an approach doesn't work out, first thing goes through my mind, okay, what did I do wrong so I don't make this mistake again? And that's when the guy came up to me and told me, he says, dude, man, that girl's a lesbian. And she didn't know what to do with the attraction you caused inside her. She's probably never been attracted to a guy like that. And that was it. I made the mistake of not showing enough vulnerability, not showing how the fact that I'm still a human being. Every girl now, especially now that I have the books out, and I'm supposedly this, according to the book, I'm this world-renowned seducer and whatnot. The biggest question they all have is, well, why are you with me? Why are you dating me when you could be dating any other girl?
Yeah.
Why are you alone? So what's going on? Are you really a player? Are you just a wannabe? Are you fake? So I just have to show them a little bit of human side. I have to be vulnerable enough so that they feel I won't abandon them.
So are they afraid that that because you know how to press all her buttons, that basically they know you can get anybody and that you would not stick with her?
That's right.
Okay.
And the way I address that is I tell them the truth, and that is, you're right. I can attract any woman I want at this point. I know how to push the buttons. I mean, I've written the book on how to get women to want me to the point where they want to have my kids. I've had women propose to me. That's not my problem anymore. My problem now is trying to find someone I really like that I would want to spend a lot of time with.
And this will be only one woman. You only limit yourself to one single woman.
At the present time, I do have a girlfriend.
Okay.
And she's pretty much what I'm looking for long term. So, but if I hadn't met her, I'd probably still be doing the open relationship thing.
Okay. But you're not really doing that anymore because you're,
Well, I'm not doing it for now.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah, because the details of my current relationship I keep out of the public light.
Yeah.
So I don't want any mention of it, but I can tell. But between you and me, I'll still, when I'm out, I'm still out promoting my books. I'm still giving my card to women. I'm still going up to a woman that I find really nice and attractive and saying, hey, you know what? I think you really give off a nice energy. I think you're really attractive. This is my card. I do an internet radio show. Look me up.
Nice. Very nice. And
the biggest problem...
Yeah, go ahead. What's your
biggest
problem?
The biggest problem with being a seducer and being a publicly known seducer is that women either want to be with you so that they can hitch a ride on the attention train, so that they want to join up with you because they want part of the attention that you get, or the ones you might really, really like would be too afraid to be with you because they don't want to be just another notch in your belt. And if you meet a girl that you actually find special, you have to work a bit harder to make her feel special. The fear of abandonment. The easiest way to address the fear of abandonment, make your girl feel she's unique to you, especially if you want to have multiple girlfriends. All right? If you want to have, like I had a harem of 5. How did I manage a harem of 5 with all of them knowing about each other? I make each one feel unique. I'll look at one of them and I'll say, you know what? You're the only one that I could see myself having kids with. I'll look at the other one. You know what? You're the only one who understands my sense of humor. Look at the third one. You know what? You're the only one that really understands me for my cultural background, and you're the only girl that I share some similar cultural history with.
So you're actually smooth talking every single one and making her feel special, and they all giggle and go like, oh, being flattered.
If each one feels well, see, I'm not smooth talking. I will pick something that's legitimate. Listen, I have sleep apnea. I don't know if you're familiar with that condition. Sleep apnea means that when I sleep, my throat closes up and oxygen doesn't get into my body. I need a machine to help me sleep. That has caused damage to my short-term memory.
Okay.
I cannot afford to lie to women because I would not be able to keep track of lies. I have to be honest with women. So when I'm telling her something that makes her unique, it's going to be something that even if I forget I told her, I'll tell her again, and I'll tell her the same thing. Let's say you're a married guy and you cheat on your wife, and your wife finds out. That's not the greatest of situations to be in. But what is she going to be looking for? She's going to be looking to see if the woman you cheated with is someone that you could potentially leave her for. And that's where you have to say, honey, you're the only one I want to raise our kids with. Baby, you're the only one that I would want to even be married to. Yeah, I had that thing with her, but it was just a sexual thing. It has nothing. She can't give me what you give me. As long as every girl in your harem or every girlfriend feels that she's unique to you in some way, that no other woman in the world could be unique to you, she'll stick around.
I still would love to hear your last, 4 of your pointers.
Okay.
If that's cool.
Yeah, dude. Ask me anything.
Because I don't want to keep you on if you don't want to.
Are you kidding me? Do you know how much fun I'm having with this?
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
All right, are you ready for the last 4?
Yeah, let's hear 'em.
All right. All right. Emotional need number 6 is trust. Now, the key here is that can she trust you to be honest with her, even if you know that she doesn't like what you have to say? One of the biggest criticisms that women have with men is that men are not honest. Why are men not honest? Because a lot of men are scared to piss women off. So every now and then, you have to tell her the truth about something, even if you know it's going to piss her off. When she gets angry, it's a good thing. Why? It addresses emotional need number 2. You manage the moment, and then she'll know that you'll always be honest with her. One of the techniques that I use in this is I create what's called the false fight, a fake fight. She'll tell you something, you misinterpret it on purpose, you start the fight. When she tells you, no, I didn't mean it like that, and she explains herself, okay, the fight's over. You've just demonstrated that you're willing to tell her the truth, even if it pisses her off.
So you deliberately create drama.
That's right, a controlled environment, a controlled form of drama. So it gives her the emotional range, and she knows that you're going to be honest. Whenever you're afraid of telling her the truth because you're scared it's going to make her angry, that's when you need to be honest with her. And when she gets angry, that's okay. Just because she gets angry doesn't mean she's going to break up with you. It doesn't mean that she's not going to have sex with you. If anything, she's more likely to have sex with you because at least she knows that you're honest.
True.
All right, number 7, her physical safety. A man must demonstrate that he is capable of protecting her physically from the threats of the outside world. This helps make her safe. Now, remember you said that sometimes a girl will say, well, we're not having sex tonight, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Part of the reason she's saying that is because she doesn't want to get beaten up or raped if she decides later on in the night that she changes her mind. She might actually have every intention of having sex with you, but she just wants to see if she's going to be safe with you. So if you react badly to it, then she says, oh boy, this guy could beat me up. If you react calmly to it and say something like, I would never do anything to put you at risk. Oh, he didn't like what I had to say, but he was calm about it, and he's not going to hurt me because of it.
Well, more specifically, you're not getting into an argument, and you're certainly not saying, but why not?
Exactly.
Do not say, do not argue with it. Just say, yeah, it's cool. But you have to be specific because if you have to be very, very smooth if you're saying, hey, listen, I would never ever do something, that you didn't want.
Exactly.
If you actually do it, you're not allowed to sound like like a wimpy nice guy, and then this is a very, very delicate situation. But if you're not honest either, it can come off as you're just deliberately lying, oh yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, you can't ever agree to that. The rule is you never agree to something that you don't want to agree to. I would never agree to a rule, we're not having sex tonight. I would never agree to that rule. So I don't agree, but I do address the emotional need under what she's saying.
Yeah.
I'll even tell a woman, you know what, I can understand your concern. I didn't agree to it.
That's a good one.
But I am saying I understand your concern. I would never do anything that would ever hurt your reputation.
See, from my experience, I believe that women always do that because they don't want, for one reason, they don't want you to think of her like a slut, so she just gives in, and B, they don't want to look like a slut in general, in terms of this society and her girlfriends. That's easy, but
exactly.
you can just barrel through if you just agree and keep going. Like, oh yeah, that's all right. But you keep touching her, you keep making out, and she will eventually give in.
That's right.
You don't use force. You don't use force.
No, you use seduction.
Yeah.
You get her so hot and bothered that she's the one who tells you, I want to feel you inside me.
Now
okay.
This is a true story. See, I'm not making this shit up. I had a girl naked on my bed, all right,
Uh-huh.
and she was saying we're not gonna have sex. Okay, she kept doing it. We're not gonna have sex for about must have been about 10 times, and I just
Understand.
kept going and going until all her clothes were on my floor, and then she said we're not gonna have sex. Okay, kept going, and within 30 seconds she goes like, okay, do you have condoms?
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So do not pay attention. Just it's all good, it's cool, but just keep going. And it
Yep.
really, really works because it is going to happen almost every single time. You must have encountered this dozens of times.
Not so much lately. Like I said
Yeah.
before, the resistance I was getting was stuff like that. Now, because I keep my checklist of emotional needs in my head, I've addressed so many of these emotional needs that by the time I get to the sex, it's no longer about her needing to feel that she's going to be protected and a rep or whatnot. The problem I'm facing now is the girls are saying, "This was too easy. You're joking with me. You're playing me.
You're too
You're not
good.
being
You're
honest.
too good.
You're too good." That's what I'm getting now, and that's frustrating. That's almost even more frustrating than when I used to get the other stuff. Because for the other stuff, there are techniques out there that'll help you work it out. But when a girl is telling you, you're too smooth, you're too good, it's even more of a challenge. Because how do I show her that I'm being legit? So now what I do is I pull out the book. I literally pull out the book and I say, here, read this. This is my philosophy. See this?
Nice.
This is how much more legit can I be? See my picture on the back of the book there? This is who I am. If I'm writing the book, you know I'm putting it out there. This is who I am. Then at that point, I still get some resistance where the girls will say, but I don't believe you're real. You can't be real. This is too good to be true. I mean, hey, it's a nice compliment, but you know what? Shut up and fuck. I mean, Christ. That's the frustration I'm getting these days.
So here's one question I have is everybody keeps saying, hey, listen, how do you get a phone number? How do you ask a girl out? And so many people just keep forgetting the phone number is not really important. What is important is what you do before the phone number and what comes after the phone number. So, everything has a plan, and the phone number is usually just there in case you need to contact her again so you can get her on a date. But the key area is when you're talking to her, and as you said, you have to address all these points
Uh-huh.
to get her, either become your girlfriend or to
Listen,
have sex with her.
if you address her emotional needs, at least this is my theory, okay?
Yeah.
If you address her emotional needs, don't be surprised if she gives you her number.
Yeah, but why
Don't be
stop?
surprised if,
Why stop?
why stop at?
Why stop at the phone number? Why actually just go for the phone number? If she gives you a phone number, fine, but just keep pressing. Just I see so many guys just, hey, okay, let's go and get a couple phone numbers. A phone number is not the end of all means. It's not even just the beginning.
You know what? I hear what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm getting at?
I know what you're getting at. The idea is that the phone number is not the ultimate goal. It's just a step in the process.
Well, it's not. I'm not even going to say it's a useless process, but you don't even need a phone number. It's always wise to get it, but technically you don't even need it.
Well, that's only if you're planning to have sex with her in the first date.
Yeah, true.
If you're planning to have sex, let's say because I know that you specialize in pulling from clubs and getting laid. If you're looking to get laid that first night, no, you don't need the phone number because you've probably already worked out the logistics where you maybe live a couple of blocks away from wherever it is you're pulling from. If you're looking to follow up, for a day 2 or a day 3 and in a completely different venue, you'll need to get the phone number there. The emphasis though cannot be on the phone number. The emphasis has to be because, wow, we have this thing in common. We should get together for this thing. When I've gotten fake phone numbers, it's always been because I made the mistake of making the phone number a big issue.
Yeah, exactly. This is seriously. If you go for I'm talking about if you want to meet her again. I'm not talking if you want to just have sex or have a one night stand. If you want to meet her again, And then seriously, don't press for the phone number and go for it. If I think a couple guys were asking you that as well in the questions to say, hey, listen, how fast can you get a phone number? And speed is not the issue here. You can get a phone number within 30 seconds, but are you going to meet her again if you leave? Probably not.
That's right. When I peacock, for me to go up to a girl and say, and do a little thing, and then get her number right away, yeah, that's really great. But if I haven't demonstrated enough value, chances are that number is either a fake or it's not going to pan out.
Exactly.
The goal is not to get phone numbers. The goal is to get laid.
Yeah.
And the phone number should only be seen as a process to get laid. When there are guys who just focus on, well, I went out and I got 12 phone numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Are you following up? Did you call each one? Try maybe calling all 12 girls and have them all meet you for the same coffee date next Thursday. See what happens. Watch the expression on the girls' faces when they all show up and they see that they're not the only girl that's there.
So, just quickly, let's talk about how you should transition from the phone number to the date, because I think this is very important. Let's say you walked up, you had some conversation.
You make the date first. Don't start, because if you go for the phone number and then the date, you're still having to work hard. You're still in that, I have to convince you, I have to seduce you.
Do you know what I usually do? Here's two things. I make a hint towards the date, or I actually already set up the date before I even go for the phone number. I usually say, hey, listen, what are you doing tomorrow? Or, if I'm in a rush, hey, listen, we should definitely continue this conversation. I got some stuff to do tomorrow in town. You want to join me?
Exactly. You plan the date before you even get the number. So at that point, the number's an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
You're not asking for the number and then trying to set up the date. You've already made the date.
Yeah.
Now you just need the number as, oh, by the way, how am I going to get in touch with you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But it's not even that you need to plan it. Oh, okay, I got you there at exactly 2 o'clock, right? It's just you need to make a hint towards the date that you want to meet her again, because the more you do right there, the less hassle you will have when you contact her again, or even if you do contact her again, because she already knows what it's all about.
And that's right, and she's not threatened.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Anyway, and she's not responsible for the sex.
Yeah.
Because if sex happens under the frame you've just set, if sex happens, it happens naturally. It's not because it's her fault. She's not responsible for sex. She's not even hanging out with you for sex. She'll shave her legs. She'll make sure she smells good. She'll do all the things that girls do in the event sex happens. But she's not responsible for the sex. If it happens naturally, or it's your fault as the man.
And also, what I want to stress here is oh fuck, I forgot what I want to say.
Well, something along the lines of getting the phone number. It's not the number. It's you set the date.
What was it? Yeah. Well, please, if you're going for a date, right? Please do not mention anything like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you out for dinner," or "Let's go watch this movie. I'm gonna take you out," or
no,
"Do you want to hang out?" That's a really, really bad one. Do you want to hang out?
For that last one, I know people who use it and who use it well, but again, they use it in a certain context, such as they'll be in school, they'll be talking to other students, and they'll say something like, "Hey, let's go back to my place and just hang out."
Oh no, that's different. That's different. I'm just saying, if you can't think of anything, it's just you're calling a girl up, and then you're having one of those weird conversations. Hey, how was your day? Oh, blah blah blah, and then suddenly you just cut it short and say, "Oh, hey, listen, do you want to hang out tomorrow?"
Yeah, worst thing, because it forces her to be responsible for the interaction. If I'm calling up a girl, I've already got 2 or 3 good stories ready to tell.
And I'm standard stories, or you use them all the time?
Well, any story. I mean, let's say I'm calling up a girl, right? We met up, and I'm just following up. I'll say something like, "Hey, it's Frank. We met at the thing last week. Listen, the most amazing thing happened to me since I met you." And I'll go into a story about something that's happened to me, and I'll make sure that my story addresses what? A couple of her emotional needs. And then I get her feeling really good. And it's like, oh, man, this big thing is happening. And listen, look, I'm going to be going to this party on Saturday night at a friend's house. Why don't you meet me there? Because I'm going to be going there with or without. The idea is I'm going there with or without you. You get to come along if you want. If you don't, you're lost.
That is a perfect example of how I usually do it every single time. You are doing something anyway, and she can join you. Like,
that's right.
I usually say, hey, listen, I need to go to town and do whatever, or I need to go there, and you can join me, or just I could go into this party. You want to join me anyway? Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't look desperate. It doesn't look like a classic date or anything. If she's cool enough, or she can join you.
That's it.
It's the perfect setup for a date.
And it could be something super simple too, like listen, I have to go to a bookstore and just check out one of the latest releases to see if it's there.
Yeah.
Something really stupid just to get out of the house and just go about town.
I mean, she already knows what's that you want to. It's a get together, but it's the way you do it, because that way she can tell. How you're gonna be like. It's exactly like you say. Everything is a test. They want to see if you are either a potential friend or a potential boyfriend or lover, and they can tell. Right. Trust me, they can tell. They want to know if you know how to please them or not, or if you're just gonna waste their time.
That's absolutely right. That's 100% accurate. When I'm dealing with a guy who maybe was at the level that I used to be. The analogy I use, and I just say, listen, either you're a little boy or you're an adult man. You can't be both. And if she's starting to act like your mother, where she has to make decisions for you and she has to help you out, a good example of this, right? A guy is trying to be dominant on a date.
Right.
So he'll be dominant on a lot of the big things, but on all the small things, he'll still be a wuss.
Let's give an example.
Okay, he's being dominant about where they're going to go. Okay, I'm taking you to that restaurant. We're going there at this time, and I'll be there to pick you up, and we're going to meet here, and we're going to talk. Wow, that's really dominant. But then he gets into the restaurant. He looks at the menu, and I'm not really sure. What do you think is good here? He talks to the waitress. Well, what's your special of the day? Oh, is that any good? Oh, I don't know. I need more time. I mean, all that dominance that he just displayed there for the big stuff is thrown away because he can't even be dominant on the little stuff. I have seen guys go to friggin' McDonald's.
You're kidding, right?
And struggle with what they wanted to order. And then ask the girl behind the cashier, well, how healthy is that? And I mean, like, well, can I have it with this? Well, how much would it be if I supersize? I'm asking all these ridiculous questions. And then the guy tells me afterwards, and I sit down with him, and he says, wow, that was really good, eh? I engaged her in conversation.
That's a joke, right?
Thinking, no, I'm telling you. And what I told him, I said, look, dude, I applaud your effort. I applaud your effort. And then I'll do an analysis of what he did wrong and how he showed a lack of dominance in the way he ordered his food at McDonald's.
God.
And he all of a sudden thinks, like, it's such a shock for him that it just... And you know what? It's a good shock. He needs that shock. The test is not always on the big things. It's a lot of the subtleties too. If you go around, sorry, go ahead.
See, it's not even a thing. Like, you can even go to I'm not even saying taking a girl out, but you can on a date. You can even go to freaking McDonald's if you want to. It doesn't really matter unless you do the way it's done. But as you said, for God's sake, just if you start asking questions,
Listen, I'm the perfect example of this, okay? Because I don't have the money to spend on fancy schmancy restaurants.
Yeah.
I just don't have it. I'd rather bring them home and cook dinner for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they try to help me for dinner, I'll say, no, sit down. You're not my mother. What did I just do? I addressed her emotional needs. I told her, no, you're not here to cook. You're not my mother. Sit down. I remember one girl, we were in a relationship. One morning she got up early, and she was sweeping my floors.
You kidding,
and,
right?
She was sweeping my floors. I get out of the bedroom, and I'm looking at her saying, what are you doing? She says, well, I got up early, so I've already done the dishes, and I'm sweeping your floors now. I said, how dare you? How dare you do my dishes? When you come here, you are not here to be my mother. You come here to enjoy yourself. And I was mad at her for a couple of hours, and she thought she had done something wrong. And then, we patched things up, we had sex, and life was good. But the idea is I even take those type of subtleties, because I see even those things as a test. I have a very hardcore view. I think everything out of her mouth is a test. But it's not because she's bad, and it's not because everything actually is a test. It's because having that view keeps me from making any of the mistakes that would ever cause me to become a loser again.
Well, it's true. Actually, it does work for you, though, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it gets me the results that I want. Will it work for everybody else? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know, dude. All I can tell you is I went from being a suicidal loser who couldn't get laid to save his life to having an incredible life with women, something I can teach now, and I like who I am. I like being alive. I have health problems. I don't have money. I don't have a car. But I still got a girlfriend who knows that I can get other girls.
And she's cool with that, isn't she? Well, she
well,
always gets jealous.
She gets jealous every now and then. She worries that I'm going to abandon her for another woman. And she sees other women get attracted to me. When I'm talking to other people about my book and about my theories, she sees the other girls getting attracted to me. And it makes her feel good because she knows that she's with a guy who's constantly desired.
See, what is, in your opinion, you mentioned something about cooking for somebody at your home. What are the top 2 or 3 ways of getting a woman from the date to your house? Now, my top 2 are, I'm hungry, let's go cook something. No, I'm hungry, let's go get some food. And then you go to the supermarket, and you can even let her buy some of the stuff and go to yours and cook something. Or B, you can, what's another one? You can just rent a DVD or something. But
the stuff that I do to get her to willing to go back to my place.
Yeah.
First of all, I've already addressed her all of 10 of her emotional needs within the first, let's say, 5 to 10 story topics. Okay, so I've already got that checked off. The second thing, the way I pulled a girl from a house party back to my place and had sex with her the first night is her stomach started rumbling, and I said, I know this really great place where you can get some home-cooked food. So I took her back to my place. But she didn't know we were going there. I just took her there. Usually the women know, it's like the first date is, hey, well, why don't you come by my place? I'll cook you dinner. Before I even get to that offer, I will describe what my place is. Now, if you all go visit my website, franktalks.com, and you check the review page of the Bachelor Apartment seminars I do a seminar called Pimping Your Pad, how to turn your apartment into a seductive lounge. I described everything in my apartment to these girls as part of the 10 stories. In my living room, I have a disco ball hanging off the ceiling. I have a karaoke.
In your living room, you have a disco ball hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Does it work?
I have a... Huh? Yeah, it works. I've even rigged the lights so that if I turn one light on,
nice.
The disco ball starts turning, and it's one of these rainbow-colored disco balls, so you have all the different colors, and it just goes round and round. The living room was painted sky blue with white clouds. The white clouds are in the shapes of cartoon characters, body parts, and land masses. So one of the things I do, I get the girl to come in. She lies down on the futon that has a mountain of pillows, sort of like a harem room.
Nice.
And I say, okay, look at the cloud. What is it? What is that? So she'll say, okay, that cloud is in the shape of Canada. That cloud is in the shape of Europe. That cloud, oh my God, that cloud is in the shape of a breast. And I'll say, yes. What else do you see up there? So I'm getting her visualizing what all these different clouds symbolize. On one side of the room, I had my liquor cabinet with 2 small mini fridges. One mini fridge was for beer. The other mini fridge was for wine. But it was in the shape of a penis. With the 2 mini fridges. Well, yeah, because I had the 2 small fridges on either side that represented the testicles, and then the one long column that had the hard liquor in it representing the penis.
But you're not making this stuff up. This is real.
If you visit my website, and you'll see those pictures. The curtain on the other side of the room, it was a nice red velvety curtain with black lace that comes in the shape of a triangle. That's supposed to look like a pussy.
Nice touch.
If you go into the pictures of my bedroom, the bedroom was painted black ceiling with glow-in-the-dark stars. So when she first comes in, I'm giving her a tour. Then I take her into my bedroom. I'm like, lie on the bed, lie on the bed. Then I'll close the lights. I'll lie down with her, and I'll say, look at the stars. And the stars at that point would be sort of shimmering. But, if I bring them home, it's in the evening, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll tell them they glow even more when it's late at night. So then we get up. I make dinner. We have our nice little conversation, a nice little evening. When it's time to close the night, I will always say, you know what, we should go to the bedroom and look at the stars glowing. Off to the bedroom we go. She's already been there. She knows that there are stars. It's all legit. She lie down on the bed. I lie down. I turn off all the lights in the house. The stars are just shimmering above us. And at that point, it's just like, it just happens naturally.
So, here's what I think is really important. It's, this is where I believe that many guys just screw up all their chances. It's, you obviously take charge and you say, for instance, hey, listen, I got a great idea. Let's go to the bedroom and have a look at the stars. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You don't say, hey, listen, what do you think if we go to the bedroom and you might want to look at the stars? What do you think? Right?
Oh, hell no.
Hell no.
She's not there to think. She's there to enjoy herself.
But this is not just about getting from your living room to your bedroom. This goes through your entire date. Those are very subtle things that make such a big difference. It's like, hey, do you want to maybe go grab a cup of coffee? You don't say that. You say, hey, listen, let's go grab a cup of coffee. I'm thirsty. And then you take her hand and go. It's the same thing like, hey, listen, let's go check out the stars in my bedroom. And you take her hand and you shut down all the lights and then you go.
Yep.
It cannot be her that's making, you can't put the choice into her lap. Because that's where things go wrong usually.
Yeah. The key that I use to tell young seducers this, very newbies, is that she's not the one who has to be responsible for anything. She gets to enjoy the ride, but she's not responsible for it. One of the challenges for a lot of newbies is that they're caught up in this whole idea of they want to get lost in the romance of it. Getting lost in the romance of any relationship is the woman's job. We're men. We're not allowed to get lost in the romance because we have to lead.
Absolutely right. Couldn't have said it better. But
so now I'm going to ask you one question here.
Sure.
Just with the way I've described my apartment, okay?
Yeah.
Just with the way I've described the colors, and I haven't even told you everything.
Hey, it worked.
Would you be interested in seeing this apartment?
I was listening. I was listening here. It's just you describing your pad, and I was like, my place looks like a dump. Maybe I should have something done to mine.
Well, hey man, I can do a whole seminar with you on that stuff. The first rule of any bachelor pad: show what your sexuality is. If I walk into your house, how do I know that a heterosexual guy lives there?
Oh man, I'm not even gonna begin to tell you. Man. First of all, my pad looks like it's Beirut all over. Seriously, there are guy magazines all over the place. There's a PlayStation on the floor. There's It
what
looks
kind
like
of artwork?
It looks like typical. No, none. I'm serious. It looks like the typical guy pad. Like.
All right, I'm going to give you and all of your listeners here one tip that's going to change everything for them.
Go ahead.
Get some artwork. Get some specific artwork of nude women or a man and a woman together nude. Tasteful artwork. Get at least one painting like that up on the wall. So when she walks in and she sees that painting, she knows you're not gay. She knows that she's in. When you make a pass at her, it's okay. she knows what to expect.
When you see the
pictures of my apartment, I had naked pictures of women, all artful, of course, all over the place. Above my bed was an oil painting of a threesome. When a girl walks into a place like that, she knows that she's going to get laid that night. Because I make it very clear, I'm not only comfortable with my sexuality, but every girl who comes into my place can be comfortable too. Some of the artwork I have on the wall is two women having sex. Tasteful artwork. That lets her know that if she wants to share her fantasies with me, she can.
But those are not dirty pictures. Those are real oil paintings. That actually gives it a certain touch. You're not just hanging up a Playboy poster on the wall.
No Playboy.
No way.
A woman sees Playboy and she says, "Oh, that's what he really likes. He's going to abandon me if he fucks me." But when they see tasteful artwork of men and women together, women and women together, nude women, she looks at this tasteful artwork and says, "He really likes women. He really likes sex. I can have fun here."
Absolutely right. So what would you describe the coolest, or no, the most intriguing and interesting piece in your house?
Of artwork?
Well, it could be anything that you usually show every woman.
Okay,
I wouldn't say it shouldn't be your bedroom right away, because if you just take her there, then it's going to be obvious. Let's something cool. You go, hey, listen,
okay,
I have this
I got
very
two things.
Okay.
I got two things for you. All right. One thing is a corner of the room where every woman who has ever posed nude for me, their picture is up on that wall. Women love to live out the fantasy of posing nude. Sometimes their faces are in the pictures, sometimes they're not. But I take those pictures, I print them up. They're like 3 inches by 6 inches or whatever. I frame them and I put them up on my wall. I had over 100 pictures in one corner of the house that was blocked off. So if she's going to go out to the balcony, she has to pass by the hallway that those pictures are in, and she just sees that and says, "Oh, wow, all these women were naked with Frank." She starts to assume that all those women had sex with Frank. And then she just starts saying, "Oh, my God, I can't believe this. These women pose nude for you?" I'll say, "Well, yes." And then she says, "How did you get them to pose nude?" And I'll say, "Well, all women fantasize about posing nude. Don't you?" And then we start talking
Nice.
about her fantasies. The next thing you know, we're talking about her fantasies, and it takes a few dates, and she starts posing nude for me too. The other thing that's really cool in my place is the aquarium.
You have a fish tank. Well, no, it's not a fish tank. It's an aquarium.
Yeah, it is a 4-foot-long aquarium. I only put angelfish and neonfish because I did a survey with girls. One of the best dates you can ever have with a girl is to walk through a pet store. It puts them in such a good mood. Yeah, just walk through a pet store. Puts them in a great mood. And then by survey that I took, the majority of women love angelfish. So I have a bunch of angelfish swimming in there. Here is what makes my aquarium special. Some aquariums have sandcastles and skulls and stuff at the bottom, right?
Right.
My aquarium had statues of people having sex.
So wouldn't women think that you are obsessed with the sex thing, or that you're more... It has a flair to it. You're not really just hanging out nudie pictures or anything. You're not having like dildos laying around. It actually has what's the right word here?
Finesse.
Yeah.
It has a style to it.
Yeah. Let me have a certain finesse.
Listen, women don't come in there and assume that I'm obsessed with sex. They come in there and say, "Finally, a guy who's honest about his wanting of sex." I don't have porno lying around. It's not porn pictures. It's not Playboy or Penthouse. If anything, all the pictures of the girls that I take, they're all average or normal-looking pretty girls. So every woman walks in there and says, "Hey, I'm prettier than that girl," or "That girl's about as pretty as me. Wow, he makes us all look sexy." So being Frank equals being sexy. Then she looks into the aquarium. And the aquarium for me is a social artwork. Because at first, what do you notice? You notice the sex, right? You notice all the sex statues.
Yeah.
But after a while, the sex statues get boring, and all you do is focus on the live fish that swim around. And that's the story I will tell when I show the aquarium, and I'll say, you see, this is a metaphor that sex, as great as it is just not that serious a thing. It's just not that important. It's okay that people have sex because there's other things more important in life too. So that sets the frame for the evening with me that if we have sex, it's okay.
So, do you want? Oh, yeah. But do you want to get back to the interview just quickly? I want to ask you something. This came up. One of the questions that I got asked. Let's nail it down. The biggest mistakes that new guys make in this game, in the beginning and usually at a later stage. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that can be made?
Okay, well,
and you should avoid.
Okay, mistake number one, we're trying to study too many different philosophies of seduction at the same time. This doesn't work because different schools of seduction will teach opposite actions that in certain contexts both work, but they may not work for you. Okay, and I give you an example.
Okay.
One school of seduction will say, don't show interest, be aloof. Another school of seduction will say, you have to show her that you have some interest in her. This is completely opposite information. One advice is directly opposite to the other advice. How do you know which one to use? Well, when you're starting out studying, choose only one school of seduction and learn that method in its entirety before you start following a second school of seduction. Otherwise, you're going to just take in all the easy stuff or the bad stuff from every system, and you're not going to get anywhere. The second mistake that a lot of guys make is that they don't have any set goals. Is your goal to have a harem of 5 girlfriends? Is your goal to have one long-term relationship? Is your goal to have a series of one-night stands? Each one requires a slightly different game. Pick the one you want, master it, but make sure that it applies to what you want. There's no point in learning how to do one-night stands if what you're really looking for is a long-term relationship. There's no point in learning how to manage a harem if all you want is a steady girlfriend. But guys are coming into this thing trying to learn everything. Dude, it took me 2.5 years to figure it out just to get my first lay. And I was going in there with specific goals in mind. There's no time to learn everything.
So what you're talking about is people that probably have been doing a lot of stuff wrong in the past and then want to learn something that now works. And then you have all these different people trying to tell you, listen, this is what you got to do. This is what works. And then what they do is they try to absorb so much information that they get an overload, and they have all these different philosophies in their heads, and and then you lose all direction.
That's right.
And the second one, as you said, is you really first of all you got to ask yourself, what the hell do you want out of this? Do you want a girlfriend? Do you just want to collect numbers? Do you just want to make out? Do you want to get married, for example? Are you looking for that special girl, or is it something long term?
Exactly. So many guys come into this thing and all they really want is a girlfriend. That's all they really want. But then they start learning all this other stuff, and it's like, well, now I want 10 one-night stands a year.
Yeah. But, or I want to get this girl right there as my girlfriend. How do I get her? Tell me something. Teach me how to do it. And then you usually have to go and say, well, listen, I can't just teach you how to get that girl right now because there's so much stuff that needs to be done, to lay the foundation, and then we can build on something. They don't grasp the concept of seducing women in general just yet. You have to start somewhere.
This is not a quick fix industry.
Yeah.
This is not You don't. It's not just, well, what's the next pickup line?
Yeah.
Because the next pickup line might, you know what? The next pickup line could get you interest, but it won't get you laid.
Well, let's say it does work on one particular girl. Let's say you just, some guy comes up to you and says, "Hey, listen, I got this problem. I'm in love with this woman. Teach me something that works so I can get her on a date." And then you go over and say, "Listen, okay, this is what you do. Tell her that and that and that." And he goes over, says something that, creates some attraction. He gets her number, and then, or she agrees to come on a date with him. But then she just says, "Well, listen, you're not really that interesting anymore." And then the guy comes back to you and says, "Well, listen, it went great until the date, so I need to know more." And then you have to say, "Listen, why don't you take your time and sit down with me, and I'll teach you, the ways of seducing women, because you are probably in the same boat I was 10 years ago."
That is a very common situation. I'm very wary of these type of situations, though, because I've had experiences where a guy asks me for some advice, I give it to him, it works, but then he does something else to screw up, and I get blamed.
Yeah.
He comes back and says, "Oh, but I did that one thing, and even though it worked, if I didn't do that thing, and if I just did my own thing, it's your fault she broke up with me." And you know what? My attitude now is, if guys are serious about this, I'll work with them long term. But if all they want is just a quick fix, I won't bother. I just won't bother. Because I'm not about a quick fix. I help virgins get laid. All right? When I'm working with a virgin, there's always a follow-up. Every couple of weeks, I get either an email or a phone call. My virgins, over the course of time, they finally get laid. Because I do the seminar for adult male virgins. It's not a quick fix situation. If a guy comes up to me and says, "What's a good line I can use?" You know what? They're all good. They will all work. What you need to find out is what works for you. If a guy comes up to me and says, "I'm really in love with that girl, how do I get her?" Well, the things that I want to know is, do you even talk to this girl? How long have you known her? Does she see you as a friend? Does she see you as a coworker? Have you ever done anything to try and attract her? Did you ever date her before and maybe make out, but then you lost her? What's the context? Because everything needs to be calibrated for what's already happened.
Exactly.
So when a guy comes up to me and asks me a question like that, I always just tell him, give me more context. Because if you're looking for just the one line that's going to make it all better, there is no one line. One line does not make a woman fall in love with a man. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, see, the thing is, it's like it's not even like a big puzzle, but you have to connect the pieces together. It's not the line. It's not a technique. It's how you pull it off. Everything has a certain flair to it. It's the same example that I gave earlier. It's that you take charge in doing things instead of saying, "Hey, do you want to go for a coffee?" And then instead you say, "Hey, listen, let's go for a coffee. I'm thirsty." That's one of those subtle things that make the ultimate difference, because it can be tied back to being confident, taking charge, treating her like like a little 5-year-old, and everything is being influenced by that, such as, even your pickup line, the way you say it. You don't just, "Hey, listen, I really, really like your eyes, blah, 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 blah." You don't say, "Hey, listen, cool earrings. Where'd you get them? Hey, I like them. Check mine out."
Exactly.
You can turn one line with the exact same words around to make it work, while other guys who don't get it will definitely fuck it up. Frank, you can use the same line that somebody else uses, and it doesn't work for him, and you can make it work.
That's right. But that's because of the way I will calibrate. Calibration is a very key element in this. I'll use the example of my apartment.
Yeah.
My apartment was decorated so that any woman who comes in there knows that she's going to get hit on. But I'm telling you right now that the apartment alone won't make a girl want to have sex. She's not going to walk into the apartment and say, okay, I'm going to fuck the first guy who walks in the room here. Oh, it happens to be Frank. The apartment is a good prop. It's a tool to be used. But it's not the apartment, it's how you use it.
Well,
it's not the line, it's how you use it.
Exactly. But let's tie this back to all these guys who are above average looking and have money. It almost acts like a tool. Let's say you are, in fact, okay looking, but your skills just suck. So you have good looks and you do get a lot of attention, but you can't make good use of it. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yes, I do. Look, with the people I've counseled, I'm telling you, I have counseled men who are better looking than me, more muscular than me, guys who have more money than me. I have counseled guys who are more confident than me. But I'm the one who gets laid. I'm the one who has women calling me up saying, I want to have your babies, Frank. I'm not a good-looking guy. On the phone. They'll call me up on the phone and we'll be talking. And one girl will say, Frank, why can't we be married?
Haha, that is... You kidding, right?
No!
They call you up.
They call me up. This might be a girl who I dated for a little while and then said, okay, like, they'll break one of my rules and I'll send them away. I still get emails and phone calls from my ex-girlfriends who will call me up out of the blue and say, "Hi, I was wondering if I could come visit you. How come we can't get married? Or how come things didn't work out?" You know what? It's a nice feeling to be getting this kind of attention. But I don't remember the point. Yeah, the point I was trying to make here is that there are guys who have a lot more going for them than I ever had. But all of that going for you doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to make a woman feel special.
Exactly.
When I went through my emotional needs, she's either your mother or she's your lover. If you screw up, she has to become your mother. If you make her feel special, she becomes your lover. I have 10 points on how I do that.
Okay.
Protect her reputation, make her feel a range of emotion, cater to the little girl in her, show dominance and take responsibility for sex, fear of abandonment, telling her the truth even if she is going to get angry, making sure she is safe and that she's protected from harm. Then the last three are prove you have high-quality sperm, show her that you can handle sexuality of a woman, and lastly, prove you're not gay. You address these 10 points on any date, you're going home with her. That's been my experience. When a guy like me, and you know what, there are days that I have low self-esteem too. I wake up in the morning and I realize, you know what, I think I put on 5 more pounds. Man, this is really tough. There are days I wake up and I still feel like I could be doing better with my life. There are days when the bills come in and I have to wonder, okay, am I going to be able to pay off this credit card this month? There are days when life sucks and I'm down on myself. But with the skill that I have, I can still attract a woman. And there are guys who don't deal with those problems. They don't have my health issues. They don't have my bad looks. They don't have my poor finances. They don't have my situation. But for the love of God, they cannot find a woman to love them. They can't even find a woman to fuck them for a one-night stand.
You know, this is a very important point that you're making right here. You have a type of guys out there who hate what we teach. I get this a lot in my emails. Some guy just tries to he's not going to try to put me down or anything, but he's saying, hey, listen, what you teach is bullshit. I can get girls, or, well, I got this girl on a date, and I was playing really, really nice to her, and I bought her flowers, and I think I did great, and I bought her chocolate, and I wrote her a nice card, and I paid her a lot of compliment, and, you know, I think I'm doing well, so, you know, go to hell, you, with your techniques and stuff. I don't think it's going to work.
Well,
what do you say to these guys?
What do I say to these guys?
Because they don't, it's not that they don't believe in what we do. It's like, you know, they're not really doing that well either. But they're not, they just, what's the right word? They're
average guys.
They don't want to accept. They don't want to accept it.
Listen, a lot of these guys, the only thing I ever tell a guy like this is, listen, if you really think that you've got it going on that well, if you found what works for you, I'm happy for you, continue. If you're going to throw it into my face, then why don't you leave me alone with your girlfriend for a few hours and then come back and see her?
Exactly, because there are there are a lot of jealous guys out there who, I mean, it could even be your friends. If if you're listening to this and you're studying that, a lot of your friends are going to start picking on you and give you a lot of stick for it.
Yeah,
If
this
you
is why.
tell them, this is what happens.
Don't. That's why I tell all newbies, tell no one you are studying this, because they will turn on you. They will stab you in the back, especially when you start getting results.
Oh, Jesus! If everybody knows you as this little shy guy who used to hang out with the crew, and he wasn't really getting anything, and all of a sudden you're getting all these girls' attention, and you get numbers, and you go on dates, and
They will see you as a threat.
yeah, exactly.
They're going to see you as a threat.
They're going to
You
start
should also,
jealous. They're going to start
yeah.
making fun of you. Now, you have two options. You can either evaluate your options, say, listen, you guys are not really friends if you're getting jealous, or just wait a couple months and it will go away.
It doesn't. Not my experience.
It doesn't. Do you think so?
It does not. Listen, I got so good at this, right, that even my closest friends were not really supportive of my lifestyle, and they would do things to try to bring me down or embarrass me, even with my current girlfriends around.
Well, are you talking about just buddies or really, really close friends here?
I'm talking about people who I grew up with, people who, I consider some of the closest friends I have. One guy.
They started turning on you.
Yeah. Well, and they don't even mean to do it in a bad way. It's just that, they don't have social skills. One example of this, right?
Okay.
It was my birthday last year. I had my girlfriend with me, and I had a whole bunch of people over at my house for dinner. And one of my friends gets up, and he starts saying this story about how, well, this was when Frank was starting to study seduction, and he starts talking about this girl that I tried to seduce, and I failed. And he's telling this story in a room where not only are there guys and girls in this room, my current girlfriend is in the room, my mother was in the room.
Oh, God. So he was deliberately trying to embarrass you of everybody else.
But with a story where he was making a mention of the name of the girl that I was trying to seduce, he was giving details. My girlfriend is sitting there like, why do I need to hear any of this? And you know what? He didn't mean it in a bad way. But the fact is that a lot of the friends that you're going to have, if you're a loser or you're a seducer in training or you're at the early stages of your development and you're listening to this, understand that part of the reason you are where you are is because you hang out with people that have low social skills just like you do. And when you get better, these low social skill people will subconsciously try to destroy your chances of getting better because they are worried you're not going to be friends with them anyway. My advice to anybody studying this stuff, shut your mouth. Don't tell girls because they automatically categorize you as a beta, a player wannabe, a guy they can't trust.
Oh, yeah, don't tell girls any of that stuff.
Don't even tell your guy friends. It's a waste of time. Find another guy who's studying this, hang out with them. They get it. The rest of your friends don't. And don't be surprised that when you finish your development, that you're going to have a whole new circle of friends and very few of your old friends. When I put out my book about my philosophy, about my life, one of my longest time friends went around telling all my other friends, what the heck is Frank putting out? What, he has something to teach? He thinks he's so great?
Oh, yeah. Jeez,
Forget it.
Yeah.
And the guy who was saying that is
this is what you're going to get. He thinks he's so great. Oh, look what he's trying to do. Trust me, you're going to get this one.
Yeah, and the guy who actually did that to me is a guy who has to pay for sex on a regular basis because he can't get laid by himself. But he's still criticizing me as, why am I so great?
Oh, God.
Yeah, but there's a lot of hate out there. Keep your mouth shut. People who study seduction are assumed to be lumped with poor stereotypes. And the argument that I use with people is, listen, if I was a jerk, I wouldn't study seduction. I wouldn't write books about seduction. I would just be a jerk. Jerks don't study seduction. They're already getting laid. It's the nice guys. It's the nice guys who study seduction because we weren't getting laid.
Well, here's what I think. If you've been a nice, it depends where you're coming from. If you are a nice guy and you're really starting at the bottom, you really need to watch out because what's the right words to put it here? If you are suddenly making huge jumps, I mean, from going zero to hero within a couple of months, I mean, you are a different person, and it's like suddenly becoming successful. It's not like winning the lottery or anything, but there are a lot of people out there that don't think you deserve it.
That's right. And here's another thing, and this applies to weight loss as well, because I experienced this when I lost the weight. Although people may be happy for you, that you're doing well and that you're changing, it attacks a person's sense of identity when the people around them change, but they don't. And they will do things to sabotage you.
Exactly.
The very same people who all of their lives were telling me, Frank, you need to lose weight. Frank, you need to get healthy. When they actually saw me changing and getting healthy, these same idiots would do things deliberately, like eat a bag of chips right in front of me, or offer me junk food when they knew at the time I couldn't have any. They don't want to see people get better and change. It affects a person's sense of identity. Change work is hard. And if you're a loser and you're going to be a seducer, change work is so painful. I've been there. I know. And the people around you are not going to be as supportive as you think.
You know what's funny? Because it happens every single time. It doesn't matter where you are or to whom it happens. Let's say you are either really skinny or you're really fat. And you decide to change the way you look because it's not hard. You can hit the gym and get some muscle, or just go running a lot and start trimming.
Right.
And if people see you, your friends, they gonna pick on you as soon as they see results. They're gonna start picking on you and say, hey, well, you shouldn't be doing this. You were fine. I love this one. You are fine the way you were.
Especially women.
Yeah.
Women
will do
definitely.
That for you.
I know a guy.
They are so self-conscious because you're making so much progress. They start feeling like, oh shit, maybe I should do something. Oh no, let's put him down so I feel better.
That's right. I know also that let's say you're in a relationship and you're losing weight, or you're fixing you're fixing your wardrobe and something. If you're in a relationship, your woman will sabotage you and tell you, oh, you don't need to do that. You look good as it is. Why is she doing that? She's doing that so some other girl won't pick you up and take you away from her.
Oh, yeah. It really happens all the time. But here's an issue. Listen, looks can be overcome by skill. But if you can do something to your looks that will improve your game and your skills, then for God's sakes, do it. I mean, as you said, you were, I don't know, over 300 pounds, and you lost a lot of weight, and there's no harm in doing that.
There's other things that you can do, which first and foremost, good grooming. Your fingernails smell good, have some good breath, look like you're clean, look like you shower, smell like you shower. And when it comes to wardrobe, if you're going to spend a crazy amount of money, put it on the shoes. Just put it on the shoes. Because I spent some money on different wardrobe and different outfits, and I got to tell you, in the end, it comes down to the shoes. If you're wondering where to put money, always in the shoes. Here's an example. When I'm pimped out and I'm wearing my red fedora hat, but I'm wearing crappy shoes, nobody approaches me. But when I'm pimped out and I'm wearing the red fedora hat and I'm wearing pimpy shoes, alligator shoes, crocodile shoes, snakeskin boots, girls will come up to me and they'll say, that's a gorgeous hat. They won't come up to me and say, those are some neat shoes. But they will come up to me and say, that's a gorgeous hat when I'm wearing the good shoes. And that's all I can tell you. Make sure that your fingernails are clean. Why? Because she's already thinking, does he stick that? If he sticks that inside me, will he cut me? Make sure your shoes are clean. Why? Because shoes are a detail. And when a woman sees a man with clean shoes, she automatically assumes that he's clean in all the details, including a clean penis. You want to increase the chances of oral sex? Wear good shoes, clean shoes.
People laugh at this stuff, but it is true. Seriously, so many people just don't see, the logic behind all this. But every small detail actually does matter. You don't need to overanalyze stuff, but seriously, when it comes to stuff that really don't take a lot of effort and should be part of your daily routine, before you go out or leave the house, I mean, you got to do it, because as soon as you start looking like a pig, man,
you'll be treated like one.
Yeah.
You'll be treated like one. I grew up thinking, I was always told, oh, looks don't matter, it's all about your personality. Okay, well then I just won't care about my looks. Why? Because I'm a man, and I'm stupid. Now, I actually pay attention to my looks, and it helps. But even though it helps, just because a girl comes up to me because I'm dressed like a pimp or I'm dressing really flashy or I go to a wedding and I'm one of the best dressed people there, just because the girls come up to me doesn't mean I will necessarily go home with them. I still have to run game. I still have to communicate with them. I still have to present myself as a man to them. I still have to address her emotional needs.
Exactly. I'll give you a good example of the looks thing. I was in Zurich one night. Had to do some stuff down there. Just visit a couple friends, and I'm telling you, this place is mobbed by metrosexuals. You know what a metrosexual is, right?
Yes, I do.
I'm literally not kidding. They all look like David Beckham. They got their ears pierced. They got those diamond ear piercings in there. They have Armani, I'm not suits, just like shirts. They have Armani T-shirts.
Yes,
They have,
they're dressed very nice.
really, they're not pimped out.
Very
really,
stylish. I understand.
Yeah, very stylish. And I was
But they need
thinking,
to be.
hey man, they're really. I mean, even these people. I even talked to a couple of guys. They start moisturizing, and I'm not really, I'm not really gay or really, really feminine, but apparently everybody does it and pays a lot of attention to their looks. But the problem was they're all pussies. I mean, you can walk in there. I was actually gonna run a test that night. I was like, all right, listen, fuck this. I'm just gonna wear the cheapest jeans, the cheapest trainers I got, and the cheapest jacket I have, and just gonna go out. And I mean, these guys were massive. I mean, they were seriously. You could put every single guy in a magazine, and it really is all down to scale. I was just walking in there, just talking to girls left and right, and even guys, they look so big, they're trying to cock block, but they couldn't do it because, it's all down to balls and your skills. It's really, really not looks. But what you have to realize is that if you don't pay attention to being different than the rest, you're gonna lose out. Now, you're in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
So how are most people like out there? Casual. They're probably
It depends what type of part of the city you're in. Toronto has a very high flake ratio.
Yeah.
More so than the average city. It's a very cold city. People will be polite to you, but when they give you a phone number or this sort of thing, they might be doing it out of politeness, and they have no real intention of pursuing. Women here are incredibly guarded. They get approached a lot, so because of that, they are incredibly guarded. Internet dating is a lot more difficult here. When I got here, it took me 2 months in order for me to get a girl. It took me 2 months to get a first girlfriend here.
Right.
When I was in Montreal, the longest I would ever go was 2 weeks. A girl would break up with me, not a problem. Whether it's through internet dating, blind dates, speed dating, whatever. Within 2 weeks, I could have a new girl in my bed. But here, it took me 2 months.
Okay.
I think the women here are beautiful. I have no complaints. I'm a very happy camper. Not as liberal as Montreal. Montreal definitely has a lot more sensuality. They're a lot more expressive with their sexuality. And I mean, you know what? I like Toronto. But even though Toronto is still known by some of the top PUAs who travel, the top
PUAs,
guys,
pickup artists.
yes,
Yeah.
and I get this from the top guys in seduction who travel through Canada and the United States. Toronto is one of the hardest cities to pick up in. And if
In
you can
North
pick
America.
up here in North America, in Canada,
Okay.
Toronto is the toughest city in Canada to pick up in. But if you can do it here, you know you can do it everywhere else. The flake factor, though, is incredibly high, and it can be very discouraging. Everybody here is bred to be very nice and polite, and it's killing the attraction. Toronto also has one of the biggest populations of lonely women. The women here are miserable, and a lot of them are turning to each other for some comfort because they certainly can't get it from a lot of the guys.
But you have to agree on this point, is wherever you are, you have to adjust your approach and be different than the rest. You obviously, most of your game, the foundation is still going to be the same, but what you have to do is, it doesn't, like, I get emails from guys that live in the middle of nowhere, like small towns or even big cities like LA. But wherever you are, don't go with the flow. That's the worst thing you can do. If you start doing what everybody else does, then you're gonna get what everybody else does.
That's right. When you're talking about small towns, one of the best frames that I've come across is that you just have to be better than the locals.
Yeah.
So if the average guy, let's say the average guy is a 7 on 10, as long as you're an 8 on 10, all the girls in the local area who don't have access to better guys outside of the city are going to go for you. So as long as you offer the women something that they can't get from the local men. It's the same thing as trying to pick up a girl who has a boyfriend or a husband. You don't need to be the best guy in the world. You just have to be better than what they have access to.
Yeah.
The fact is that every woman loves Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, a lot of these, you name these Hollywood stars. Every woman would want to be with those guys. But guess what? Those guys are not accessible to these women. These women cannot get those guys. So they simply have to get the best of what they have access to. And that may as well be you.
Right, exactly. And, one of the key things is that if you want to be better, you have to differentiate yourself from the guy next to you. Now, let's say you are, I don't know, let's take Toronto, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to take LA, but, it's kind of different down there anyway. Let's say Toronto. If you, let's say you, Frank, try to be exactly like all these other stereotypical alpha males out there and try to do the same approach, it's not going to work for you.
Because they'll just see me as something that's not special.
Yeah, exactly.
But the minute I go out there and I do something different, such as, well, actually, I'm an author of books, and I'll tell them my theory, and I'll tell them my ideas. Well, nobody else here does that.
Exactly.
And boom, I'm someone who's really special, and if they have sex with me, it means that they're special too.
So, for all these guys who listen to this, what you have to do is you have to pick something that makes you unique. One of the most obvious questions is when a girl asks you, "Hey, listen, what do you do for a living?" And you just say, I don't know, one of the most simple things that are, that everybody says, "Well, I'm a student," or I don't know, I work in a bar, or just something that that's not really interesting. You have to find something that you like doing. It doesn't even need to be your job, but you have to offer them something that is different.
Actually, I have an answer for that. When people ask a normal guy what he does for a living, I advise to, all right. First of all, if what your job is something that's boring, let's say you're an accountant.
Yeah.
You never just answer, "I'm an accountant." You always answer with the following. Now, that's an interesting story. You see, when I was a kid, I really loved numbers.
Yeah.
And you go on and you build it up. And then through the story, you would address, let's say, 3 or 4 emotional needs. The second thing you could do is to come up with an identity. Now, are you an accountant or are you a lover of numbers? Same job, but a different identity.
Exactly. See, what I usually do is I say, when somebody asks me, "Hey, what do you do for a living? I just say, hey, I always wanted to be a garbage man. You know why? Because you always get right on the back of the truck when you were little, and I don't even you don't even need to tell her what you do. You can just tell her something you like doing, or something you enjoy, or as Frank said, it's going to be part of your identity. They don't want to really know what exactly it is you do. They want to know what you're interested in, or what your life is like, so they can maybe be part of it, or you can, as Frank said, rock their world.
Right. Getting back to something we had talked about earlier, the most important thing for a woman is how you make her feel.
Exactly.
So when she's asking you what you do for a living, she may not actually give a damn what you do for a living. She's just giving you an opportunity to try and make her feel. And if you can do that with a good joke, a good story, your style and mine, Nick, are very different. You use humor, and it actually works for you. When I've used humor, it's never worked for me, so I stay away from it personally. I'll go into a long story about how I got from A to B, or I'll go with the identity. Both of them allow me to make her feel. When you use humor in that example, you also have the capability of making her feel. That's the ultimate goal, I believe, with those type of questions.
Yeah.
She really couldn't give a damn. She's not gonna walk away from you because you say, I'm an accountant. She walks away from you because you didn't make her feel when she gave you the opportunity.
Exactly. I mean, what I usually do or emphasize on the most is, I'm trying to be, a cocky bastard and kind of, play it with arrogance. But for some guys, it's not the best approach, because it takes some practice, to pull it off.
One of the things I find about being cocky is that if you already have a natural charisma and you can communicate it in a way that's non-threatening, then it'll work. But most guys come from a place of pain, and they don't necessarily have the social skills in their lives already. Because if you have some basic social skills, you can get away with cockiness. When I started, when I was a complete loser, I had zero social skills at that point. I was completely broken. So using comedy at that point, or using humor at that point, wouldn't have worked for me. Now, I've had somebody tell me, oh, you could probably do it now. You know what? Maybe I could, but I've already got a system that works for me. Why fuck with it?
You're absolutely right. But your system, if you may call it that, is you are more focused on making a woman feel good, or not even feel good, making her feel all sorts of different emotions, instead of just focusing on creating hardcore sexual attraction with humor or small arrogance, like all the alpha guys do, for example.
Yeah, you got it exactly.
Yeah,
I go in there and I try to present myself as the guy who can hit every emotional need she has.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, because we have two different philosophies that both work.
That's
Whereas,
right.
I usually say, you have the nice guys, and you have the jerks. The jerks are assholes, but they do something right. And the nice guys, forget all about that stuff. You say exactly the same thing, but here's where we kind of split our philosophies. I say, listen, if you wanna get the women that hang on your wall, you have to go into the kind of bad boy route and be different. Whereas you say, don't just focus on that. If you want to go be more not even the romantic type of guy.
I call it the seducer.
Yeah,
I just call it the seducer.
It's called the smooth. I think it's called smooth seduction.
Okay, smooth seduction. That works for me.
You seduce women by being very smooth and hitting all those emotional trigger buttons. But you also see the connections to our philosophy. There are certain things that are different, and certain things that are exactly the same.
I think that what's the same between our philosophies is where they're rooted in.
Yeah.
Okay? When you use humor, let's use that example, because that's the one thing that we're both different on.
Yeah.
Humor is something that plays a part in both our systems. I use it to create an emotional range. You use it to create attraction.
Exactly.
Okay? So we both have the fact that we use humor in common. How we use the humor is different. You found a way that works for you and your persona. I found a way that works for me and my persona. Or in my case, I don't use it. But they're both rooted in the same base theory, that humor can play a part in the seduction. How it plays a part for the person specifically, that's where they're going to have to figure it out, based on what skills they already have and what type of persona they are. But the philosophies behind attraction are always the same. How we manifest those that work within our own personas, that's where it gets different for each person. This is why when I see people trying to teach inner game, I just look at that and I say, this is ridiculous. Inner game is very personal. It's as unique as a fingerprint. So when I teach people inner game, I teach them a personalized version of their inner game. Because there is no one inner game that works for everybody.
Yeah. So ultimately, if we have to boil everything down into one small cup, what do you think would be the key ingredients to succeed in this game? Is it inner belief, or is it technique, or is it a combined?
Well, that's a very good question, and here's my take on it. I've met guys who have only technique, and these guys get laid. But that's all they are. They're just a collection of techniques, and they don't keep a woman around.
They just babble those lines and do all
and they
those
get laid.
Weird things.
They get laid. They use the techniques. They get laid, but they have no substance. They're not complete human beings.
They don't have an identity, if you want to call it. They don't.
Yeah, that's right. Because they're just a collection of tactics.
Yeah.
And they're in pain. Don't kid me, okay? They can get laid. They can get the girls they want. But because they're not complete human beings, they don't keep the woman around. Then we have the people who only focus on inner game. Now, these people are complete. They're individuals. They have identity. But they don't have any real communication skills. They can still attract women, but the guys who only focus on the inner game, they only attract the women who would already be into them. They don't necessarily get the women they want. The guy with tactics can get the woman he wants. He can't keep her. The guy with inner game can attract women and maybe keep them, but he doesn't get the woman he wants. I believe that the ultimate thing is a combination of the two.
Exactly.
You want to use the tactics, can get you the woman you want, and you build up your inner side character in order to keep her.
Now here's a funny thing. The techniques and the tactics, you can learn all those within, in less than a month. Okay? The problem is, if you want to strengthen your inner game, your inner confidence, this takes time, but it will last you a lifetime. Everybody can just learn a couple techniques and, study them hard and just ramble them off, to every woman he sees, and, even write down their, his own techniques and his own, what the hell do I know? But to actually go from A to B, if you know you are not really good at picking out women and you want to get rid of all that in yourself, build up your confidence, build up your beliefs. This is going to take longer than just a couple weeks, but you can start with techniques and certain lines. You're going to see improvements until you actually see the whole code behind it.
I would agree with that, because that's where I started. I started strictly with outer game. I started strictly just studying the communication techniques. And what I can tell you is that if it wasn't for the results that I was at least getting, even though I wasn't getting laid during those first 2 years, all the techniques that I was learning gave me faith and made it worth it for me to work on my inner self. Those techniques got me attraction. I got interest from women. And I said, wow, these techniques work, so there must be something there. They gave me the faith that I needed, that it was all going to work out. Because like I said, when I started this, I was suicidal. And the techniques that I was using gave me the faith to hold on and said, look, if these techniques can work, Now I know that I just have to fix myself on the inside too. It's worth it for me to do that now. Because I know that once I get that in place, these techniques I'm using, I know they work. I have proof. I've seen it in the girls' eyes. I've seen it in the way they react to me.
So let's sum this up real quick. What are the key points that somebody that wants to go from A to B, wants to become more successful with women in dating, according to you, what are the main issues he has to do right now and start applying?
The first thing I want him to do is I want him to sit down and write out exactly the type of lifestyle he wants.
Right.
And when I talk about lifestyle, I'm not talking about the house, the car, and whatnot. Tell me about what type of relationships he wants. Does he want a series of one-night stands? Does he want one girlfriend? Does he want a wife? Does he want 3 wives? Once he figures that out, that's when he'll automatically know what the next step is. So that's the first thing. Figure out what it is you want. Number 2, identify your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to women. Do you already have language skills, or do you not know how to talk to women? Do you have the guts to go up and talk to strangers, or are you petrified of approaching someone new? What are your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to women? By identifying what your strengths and weaknesses are as a second level, and matching that with the first level as to what you want long term, you'll be able to find a school of seduction for you that can teach you exactly what you need. The third thing that I teach guys, and this is what worked for me because this is what I used. Learn only one thing at a time. You learn one thing, you master it, you move on. You learn a second thing, you master it, you move on. You don't move on to the 10th thing until you've learned the first 9. Some guys start with approaching. I did not. Approaching was the last thing I learned. Why? Because at the time that I studied, I was morbidly obese. I couldn't stand up for more than 20 minutes without being an incredible pain in my feet. So going up and doing approaches and going out to clubs and all this and that, I wasn't physically capable. So I focused on everything else except approaching. But by that time, when I started approaching, I had everything in place. But I worked my ass off.
Okay.
I guess the last bit of advice I could give for a guy just starting out, don't assume that this is supposed to be easy, because it's not. I spent months of just doing intense study just to reprogram myself. And I had to give up a lot, and I've had to sacrifice a lot along the way. But I can tell you this as a guy from experience. It's worth it.
Oh, definitely.
It is so worth it.
Well, hey, Frank,
Need help with love, sex, dating and relationships? Visit franktalks.com.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, 'cause Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, and relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com. Coaching available in person, by phone, and by Skype. For singles, couples, and alternative lifestyles, franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com. What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, whoa, get by with a little help from Frank Talks. You gotta try a little help from Frank Talks. What do you do when your love goes away? Try coaching one-on-one. How do I sign up to turn things around? Just sign up at franktalks.com. Yeah, get by with help from Frank Talks. I get by with little help from Frank Talks. Time to try a little help from Frank Talks. Does it cost a lot of money? It's the best rate going around. Could it cost a lot of money? Oh, it's worth every cent that you will put down. Yeah. franktalks.com. Oh, you got to go to get your help from franktalks.com. Yeah, yeah. franktalks.com. Would you believe that Frank gets results? Yes, we're certain. Just read the reviews. Frank knows his stuff, and Frank's got the goods. Good love can soon come to you.